All right. All right. I notice now, so severely underprepared was I that I don't even have any water for the stream. What's up? Howdy, howdy. Howdy doody. See, J-Reg came out as a social democrat. Hasn't J-Reg come out as like everything? Hasn't J-Reg been everything? What's up, guys? Are you going to die of dehydration? It would take a little bit for that to happen. Wash you better. I did eventually have sleep. Sleep is good. The bit is that he's being honest. I see. Ah, thank you. My warrior. My hydro homie. Thank you very much. How y'all doing? You forgot to talk about Boris last stream? Yeah, so I love cucking you Britbongers. We are so catastrophically behind on dono reads that I'm considering just giving it all up. But I can't. I made a promise. Now, mind you, I don't have an obligation to read these donos. If I want to give it up, I'm perfectly free to. But I did say that I would read these donos, so I should probably... Hey, Demon Mama. So I should probably actually read them. Hold on. I'm going to get through these very quickly, okay? Because we've got shit to talk about. I took a whole day off, if you can believe it. Do I use foundation? You mean on my face? Like for makeup? No, I never wear makeup. I'm not opposed to wearing makeup. Uh, but I have. Non-compete doesn't want genocide? What is this? What? I don't know. There are like people trying to like post hoc this. Non-compete has revealed himself to be incapable of having conversations about this. I don't think you can get around that. Can you help me understand why I couldn't just use my material conditions to justify things that otherwise see as immoral? Non-compete says, there are no material conditions which would justify genocide. That is the whole point. Only false consciousness. Wait, the material conditions don't matter at all. Wait, if there are no material conditions at all that justify genocide, the material conditions are completely irrelevant to the question as to whether or not genocide is wrong. He kept wait. If they're irrelevant, then why do you keep bringing up material conditions? If those aren't connected, if there's no material conditions that would lead to that outcome, then why would you ever? Okay. Um. Yeah. Okay. All right. No, it's fine. Um. Yeah, the answer is different every time. Like again, there's like nothing to dig into there. Anyway, we're going to cuck and fuck these donos. We're not even going to respect the linkers. I don't know why we do it all, to be honest with you. Okay, hold on. Non-creative 20, thank you for the tier 1 sub, appreciate that. Pessimist, thank you for the tier 4 sub. Worker co-ops all apparently act like the Dock Workers Union Disco Elysium, don't you know? True! Sake with the 2 gifted tier 1 subs, thank you very, very much. Devin Woodall and Altfax, thank you for the $5 both. Yes, language and freedom, manufacturing, consent, and necessary illusions are all wonderful books. Lossy input, thanks to the tier 2 sub, really appreciate that. What was this? Machiavelli was meant to be read ironically. I understand that, but like I think that there were things Machiavelli wrote on, at least from my like fucking junior text reading understanding. Thank you very much. That were reflective of the attitude of the aristocracy at the time. The idea that like there's some innate supremacy that justified their decision making. Yeah, it was a pretty common thing. Rumen Aaron, thank you for the 100 rubles. Really appreciate that. Devin Woodall, thank you for the very kind $20. Thank you very, very much. Illa Devine, Anthony Villani, Lorekeeper 17, thank you for the $5 all. Really appreciate that. The Anarcho Atheist, thank you for the 2 consecutive $10 donations. I forgive you. Hey, wait. Hey, Vosh, I was the annoying mutualist guy. Don't make alts when I ban you. Unless you give me $20. You can make alts when I ban you if it means you give me $20. Can people who are banned donate? They should be able to. Key, thank you for the $5. Jimmy's Room, thank you for the very kind $20. Sorry for the self-promo, but check out my latest bit with big incel YouTuber, Dude Went Full Joker Mode. Oh, your channel is getting some subs. I've said before that, first of all, thank you for $20. Oh, you're live streaming now. I've said this before, though, and I gotta warn you, I will never watch a video just because somebody donates. If you want promo shit on your videos, paying can't be a good one because you have to give the audience a good hook, right? You have to give the audience a good hook. Like, debating Hans, that's good. Self-promo, stuff like that. But, like, you have to link people, or you have to, like, lure people in with that. Oh, this video did well. Dave Chappelle doubles down. Yeah, I guess like topical stuff like that. Otherwise, like, people in the audience can only ever, because, like, I can't promote you because I don't, like, know your shit that well, right? So, like, people in my audience can only ever go, like, oh, this person likes Vosh, so they must be good. But, well, I guess that's true because everyone who likes me is good, so that's also true. Anyway, I hope you enjoy your stream. I love you. Scimitar 2, thank you for the tier 2 sub. That's from today. I love you. Sake, thank you for the $10. Twice over. Thank you very, very much. Yes, Folding Ideas, a.k.a. Dan Olson, a.k.a. Chad Cholson, released a video on NFTs 2 days ago, which is maybe the best YouTube video. It's like documentary tier. I actually mean that. I actually think, like, in terms of coherence and quality, it rivals some of the best, like, documentaries on any, like, social issue. It's wild. Like, I can't believe stuff like that's for free on YouTube. It's, like, disgusting how much better he is than me. But yeah, you should go check it out. Yeah. Good archery craft. Lumberjack N, thank you for the $5. Adam Calhoun went off the deep end on Carhartt. Yee yee. I don't know what Carhartt is. Yee yee. Devin Woodall, thanks for the gift of tier 1 sub. Insomnia Noir, thank you for the tier 1 sub. Really appreciate that. 3 Places at Once, NPC Porky, Tooth's Alt, and Big E. Thank you for the tier 1 subs all. Really, really appreciate that. Still live, the $2. Aqua Fractaline, Pentimenta, and Anthony Lopez, thank you for the $5. Bosch, can you please let me drop a GoFundMe link in the chat for a trans friend that got hurt in a car accident? She needs help. Well, first of all, this is 2 days late. Second of all, you can drop it in chat if you want, I guess, if you don't spam it. And third of all, Godspeed, and I hope they're doing okay. Weird Champ me. Annoyed Gamer and Sake Tanuki, thank you for the $10 both. Really appreciate that. If somebody spent 21 years apologizing to me for saying lunacy and nanners, I'd assume they killed my dog a year before and replaced it with a similar dog. Ha! Thought Slime has been getting a lot of negative attention lately. I really hope this causes them to reflect, you know? I do genuinely believe in the restorative justice meme. Hey, Gally. That, like, a lot of people on the left pretend to believe in, but actually don't, and they just want, like, God to punish the people they don't like. Like, if a person can take, like, a fucking I still say this about, like, people like RGR or whatever. Like, they just chill and reflect in it. But they never ever do. They never will. They never can. So, I don't know. Tyranax, Cluemaster63, Oboro, Shigawire, and Geralta Boring Trivia. Thank you for the $5 all. Really appreciate that. I've never watched Critical Role, so I'm not going to watch their animated series. Probably. Started playing Furi and Jesus Christ, you made it look easy. Yeah, people say I'm bad at video games unless they've played the video games that I play. Then they know. They know the truth. I'm actually the only good player of video games. Governor Roderick Alden, thank you for the incredibly kind 5 gifted tier 1 subs. Yes, we should go over the Florida anti-CRT bill, the one that doesn't allow, like, crackers to be upset or whatever. Soy Master, Dreadful Dave, and Koopa Test Studio, thank you for the tier 1 subs all. Really appreciate that. Tyler and Stirfry, thank you for the tier 2 subs. Thank you very, very much. Stirfry, happy to have you in, even after a delay. The Dayman, thank you for the $2. This Juan, thank you for the tier 2 sub. Really appreciate that. Vinny Holiday and Buried Fresh, thank you for the $5 both. Very kind of you. Hey, Merrick. All right, chat. We're making good headway through these donos, and then we get to do actual content that live streamers can do, if you can believe it. Andy Lobo, thank you for the $5. Hey, Vosh, feeling down because I dunked on my anti-vax brother and my family's upset at me. Don't want to feel like I'm the asshole. Thoughts? Heart you, buddy. You have to be the one to make the decisions about how nuclear you want to go with your familial relationships and stuff like this, but, like, you're not the one at fault, okay? There are always going to be people who prefer to keep things quiet over keeping things right, and those people suck, whether or not they're members of your family, you know? Joy Sins, thank you for the tier 4 sub. Really appreciate that. Do you plan to discover writing? You should check out Brandon Sanderson's lectures on YouTube. That book you plan on writing someday. I'm probably never going to write that book. I wrote like 8,000 words or something, and it sucks. I mean, it's probably, I guess, I mean, there's probably some merit to it. Like, you could refine it and stuff. But the thing is, the issue is, like, I feel like I could be really good at a lot of things if I put the effort into being good at them, but it always takes time. And I have a quota of playing 10 hours of Final Fantasy XIV right now, and that's just very hard on me, you know? Just always keep that in mind. This is a lesson you guys need to learn, even though I'm not good at learning it, okay? The discouragement that people feel when they start a new hobby and they don't like what they're producing from it, whether it be music, art, whatever else, is a product of your good taste. The fact that you have good taste is the reason why you are repelled by the things which you produce initially. because you have good taste, and the things which you are producing are not in alignment with the expectations of good taste. But the fact that you have good taste means you have a process by which you can refine to build towards. So don't be discouraged by that, okay? That's just part of life, all right? What if I have bad taste? Well, thankfully, people's bad taste can sometimes be refined into good taste. You can also have good bad taste and bad taste, if that makes any sense. It's possible to be really, really, really good at producing something which is of bad taste, which I think can be good sometimes. You know what I mean? A little bit, Tempest, yeah. Like to put it this way, I guess there were a lot of like fucking Western porn comics that are drawn with what I would call bad taste. That's not to say the content of the comic is bad or whatever. Just that like the art style, I find there's a kind of grotesqueness to it, you know? Um I'm making it sound over exaggerated. Different art styles, especially for pornography, it can really sell a scene differently. But if you get really, really good at drawing things in a way which I think is inimical to, you know, if you get really good at it, I think you can start producing things that are good all over again, and your bad taste simply becomes like an interesting, good new taste. I don't know. The point is that it's always good to try. Psychonauts is an example of an art style that's pleasantly unpleasant. Yeah. Psychonauts is a great art style. Exactly. Okay, hold on. Big Brother and Me Magician, thank you for the $5 both. Yes, the Well, There's Your Problem podcast is spectacular. Oh, you gave $10, Me Magician. Yes, it is absolutely spectacular, and I strongly recommend that everyone go sub and to follow them on Patreon, even if they don't like me. But that's okay. I don't even know if they don't like me, but I like them, and that's what matters. Big Brother, it was just like a discovery phase thing. I'm still working on the music thing. Squidward, thank you for the 2 Australian. Really appreciate that. Draconarius King, thank you for the 5. Likewise, Markinator. Save Point, thank you for the $2. Yankee with no brim with the tier 1 sub. Thank you very much. Sharkgut17, thank you for the tier 1 sub. J1 the Skate, thank you for the tier 3 sub. Really appreciate that. Exikio and Still Alive, thank you for the $5 both. Really, really appreciate that. I know I can just look this up, but can you define what, in your words, you mean with the word essentialist? Thanks. Usually when I critique somebody or something as being essentialist, like a worldview or a person, it's usually that they ascribe things to other things fundamentally, as opposed to it being sort of transient or contextually determined. So, like, an essentialist might say, for example, that, like, white people are inherently racist. It may be true that racism, at least in the modern world, at least in America in the modern world, disproportionately comes from white people, but that's not an inherent thing. That's just a product of socioeconomic circumstances. People who treat it as though it's an inherent thing, that's an essentialist worldview, you know. Essentialism is the bedrock of most bad ideologies because it takes away the ability to understand the social context by which things you dislike might emerge, and it makes you target people instead of systems, groups instead of processes, you know? Yes. Stake, thank you for the 4 gifted tier 1 subs. Really, really appreciate that. Greggy J, thank you for the $5. Yes, Fuentes got subpoenaed. Sake, thank you for the 2 gifted tier 1 subs. Really appreciate that. And then Sake gave 4 consecutive $10 donations, for which I appreciate him endlessly and without reservation. Let me see. I think I responded to some of these at the time. It's mostly you complaining about Hassan, but it's from 4 days ago, so I think I'll leave it to the imagination of the audience. As you complained about Hassan many times, I'm sure they can synthesize the information. No, Sake, we have not yet done the OK Buddy Vosh segment, but it has to come within the next few days, because otherwise we're going to run out of time. Hawk, JD, and Rewriter, thank you for the tier 3 sub. Really appreciate that. You look like you just got out of a workout. Again, this is from 4 days ago. If I'm ever sweaty, it's usually because I was eating hot food right before stream, or like spicy food, or whatever. Needless Coronet and Pandora, thank you for the tier 1 subs both. Really, really appreciate that. Happy to get you through things, Needless Coronet. Leafar and Cluemaster93, thank you for the $5 both. This game looks interesting. What platform might you recommend it on? You're probably talking about Furi, in which case I got it off Steam, but I think it's pretty much everywhere now. Plague Dr. Jones, Eerie, and Krylik, thank you for the $5 all. Really, really appreciate that. Spider Doom, thanks for the tier 2 sub. Really appreciate that as well. Michael B, thank you for the 2 consecutive $5 donations. Really appreciate those as well. Dendrago, thank you for the $5. Ingy Bingy 2K, thank you for the $2. Welcome to the world. Thank you for the very kind $20. I really, really appreciate that. Um, no doubt, no doubt. Leafar, thank you for the $5. Eric Bruno with the 10. That's very, very kind of you. Real Anti-Moralism, thank you for the incredibly kind $20. I want you to have a good graph on fertility. I will give it a look soon. Thank you for enabling your fetish. Wow, there were a lot of donos that I missed. We're back to 5 days in the past. I am doing my best, but I swear to God, when we're done with this, we're going to finish watching the Haas and Dylan video. Yeah. Liz Square, thank you for the gifted tier 2 sub. Really appreciate that. Obelisk and Cisorso, thank you for the tier 1 subs both. Just watched the Reflecting on Recent Drama vid in the Vosh Pit, which everyone said sub to. Really inspiring shit. Yes, very true. Also, why is your TikTok inactive? I think we're in a transitory period right now where soon we're going to be adjusting our strategy on TikTok to be more active there. So we'll look out for that. Salami Army and Carson Harvey, thank you for the $5 both. Really appreciate that. Sailor Boy, thank you for the $5. Foxy Mickey, thank you likewise. So noted, my friend. You can call me Neck, thank you for the 50 kroner. Sake with the $10. D Nat with the $5, thank you very, very much. Oh my God. You guys give me a lot of money. Wow, okay. Rivera Life, thank you for the gifted tier 2 sub. Really appreciate that. Devin Woodall, thank you for the tier 3 sub. Sorry that the chat color glitched. I apologize. Email the support next time that happens. Solid Dragon, thank you for the $30. Really, really appreciate that. Hey, Vosh, I had a friend over. We enjoyed watching your video. She is now based in Vosh Pilled. Oh, Pog. The only pill that anyone should be taking, apart from, in my case, Adderall and lithium bicarbonate, of course. Geralt of Boring Trivia, thank you for the $3. Maybe. Failson, thank you for the $2. Camden Quick, thank you for the very kind tier 4 sub. Look at how earnest this dono is. Hey, the name's Camden, just another far lefty that's grown fond of the community. Figured it was time to sub. That is so sweet. There's not a hint of cynicism or memery in there. Thank you, Camden, from 4 days ago. I love you. Yes, the slave of the scandal will not be born. Machiavelli is famously Republican and espoused a political theory that centered the citizen over and above the aristocracy and the prince. Yeah, but wasn't the fact that the prince was satire indicates that he was satirizing the dominant ideas of the day, right? Like the fact that Machiavelli was engaging in that satire was indicative that he was taking down like the predominant attitude of the day, right? I could be totally wrong. Here. Okay. Gamer Girl Forever. I love that for you. Thank you for the $2. Really appreciate that. Not at all. Oh, and with the $5, wait. Hey, Vosh, my friend is having a real rough time right now. I mean, a lot of you encourage people to donate here. Oh, goodness. I'm afraid that the link you gave me doesn't work. And also, this is from 4 days ago. I love you. I'm sorry. No, the donut didn't come off weird. The issue is, and I've said this before, but it's something that I have to remind people, and I hope this doesn't come off as me being rude or cynical or whatever, but if I platformed or gave air to every GoFundMe dono, not only would that take up a significant portion of every stream, the requests would quadruple. Quadruple might be putting it mildly. And what would happen then is every time I posted a link, you guys would go, okay, and like $5 would come in. But you donated $5 to show it to me, you know. The issue is that at the end of the day, like petitioning live streamers is not a good or effective. Yeah, I already get a lot of emails to this effect, but like, yeah, there's just it's not an effective or sustainable vector for sustaining donations. And that's tragic and it's not fair, but unfortunately there's nothing I can do about the maths of that. Maths, Christ, slipping into being British there. Okay, we're down to 6 days in the past. How long did I put these off? Holy shit. Sake, thanks for the 2 gifted tier 1 subs. Sake with the $10. Thank you very much. Jen Omega, thank you for the tier 3 sub. Retro with the $5. Really appreciate that. Posada Sean, thank you for the tier 1 sub. Sad Boy Socialist with the $10. Thank you very, very much. Yeah, I saw it. It was good. Bipolar Bear Zzz, thank you for the $20. It's very, very kind of you. Thank you. Guilty to Voshite for you and Thunderface. Thank you for the $5 all. Really, really appreciate that. M68 Ken, thank you for the tier 4 sub. That's very, very kind of you. Thank you. Tane Raining Trees, thank you for the tier 1 subs both. Vosh Cringe, Asban, Edanan, Rotary Fist, and Illa Devine. Thank you for the $5 all. I really appreciate that. I'm beginning to wonder if there's been some sort of glitch with the website that's causing me to reread donations that I've already gone through. Papa Vosh, thank you for the $3. Liquid Smoke with a 50 kronar. Thank you very much. Potato Royd, thanks for the tier 1 sub. DeGero, thank you for the tier 4 sub. Really, really appreciate that. Yes, absolutely. Materialism is when things exist. Mr. Mouthbreaker and the Lost Sandwich, thank you for the tier 4 subs both. Really appreciate that. Bacanary and Klaus Mouse, thank you for the $5 both. It's very, very kind of you. Eyes Venya, thank you for the tier 1 sub. Katzer, Nathan Nelson, thank you for the $5 both. French Vanilla Ice, thank you for the tier 1 sub. Spicy Tofu with the incredibly kind $100 from 6 days ago that I just never saw or got around to. Hey Vosh, wanted to thank you for helping expand my political knowledge as well as teach me valuable lessons in communication, especially with debate and analyzing people's behavior. Love you, buddy. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I'm really, really happy to provide that service, and I'm glad that you've benefited from it. Thank you. Seriously. Kingfisher and Asban, thank you for the $10 both. Welcome to the world. Thank you for the incredibly kind $50. I really, really appreciate that. Yes, we've gone over the Haas Dylan boxing memes, but again, this was from 6 ago. Razoring25, Tuvashe for you. Thank you for the tier 2 subs both. Really appreciate that. Tier 1 subs donated from Sake Tanuki. Thank you. Anyone. Thank you. YRPM, the tier 1 sub. Thank you. Allegedly Angelo. Thank you for the very kind €10. Really appreciate that. It's very, very kind of you. So noted. Much appreciated to you and your boyfriend. Dash and Scan, Pepe Sylvia, and Dysfunctional Daisy, thank you for the $5. Seriously, is there a glitch? Did I really miss these many donos? We've got to be reaching near the end now. I must have just missed this many. I really need to stop reading these. Stockay with the 2 gifted tier 1 subs, thank you very much. Well represented in these dono reads, of course. Taylor Queen, thank you for the tier 4 sub and the kind words. Really happy to hear you're enjoying the stuff. Wumpy Jumps, thank you for the tier 2 sub. Thank you very, very much. Synthwave, thank you for the tier 3 sub. Very kind of you. DNat and Tricycle, thank you for the $10 both. Really kind of you. All Over the Place, thank you for the $5. Likewise, with the Wrong White, Still Alive and Quintonic with the $2. Likewise, Inca Blue and Still Alive again. Very kind of you. Panthera and Grey Shadow, thank you for the tier 1 subs both. Dear Eye Papers, thank you for the tier 2 sub. Dion with the $3. Ben Garver with the $5. Jamie with the 2 gifted tier 1 subs. Really, really appreciate that. Sake with the $10. Still Alive with the $10. This is from 8 days ago. Grimy Waifu, Alpha Alex, thank you for the tier 1 subs both. Cluemaster, 63, Dandy Andy, thank you for the $5 both. Rotary Fist, Ember DL, Cluemaster 63, thank you for the $5. I really appreciate those. Sake with the 2 $10 donations, thank you very kindly, as always. Liz Square with 2 gifted tier 1 subs. Neurodivergent Worldly with the tier 2 sub. I'm autistic and I love my streams as well. Dumb Bunny, thank you for the $5. Likewise, Save Point. Jenny, Sunny, June, and Mikey Two Harder, thank you for the tier 1 subs. Really appreciate those. Soliti Saki Tanuki, thank you for the $10. I really, really appreciate this as well. Radical AC, thank you for the 666. Very satanic of you. Imperial General William Brown, Ghost of Silence, Papa Phoenix, thank you for the $5 donations. I really appreciate that. Black Dynamite with the $2. Thank you kindly. Liz Square with the gifted tier 1 sub. Liz Square with the tier 2 sub for themselves. Very selfish, taking the 2 for yourself, giving the 1 to another. CL, the Anonymous Ginger, and Sailor Boy, thank you for the $5. This is preposterous. I've streamed to get to. This is ridiculous. This is what happens when you procrastinate, I suppose. If I wasn't speedrunning through this, this would have been hours. How dare you all donate so much? Yeah, it's ridiculous, isn't it? Look at my indignation at being given money for sitting in front of my computer and talking, something that I'd be doing otherwise. Absolutely ridiculous. But I guess that's what happens, right? Jeez. Devin Woodall, thank you for the 3 gifted tier 2 subs. I really, really appreciate that. That's very kind of you. Destinesque, thank you for the $10. Thank you very, very much. A reminder to everyone whose donos are getting blazed over is that I can read these that fast. I just can't say them out loud that fast. So I do read what you say. And Qualified Immunity, thank you for the very kind $20. Really, really appreciate that. Yeah, Luna always a dishonest fuck, for sure. Liquid Smoke, thanks to the 50 kronar. Felicity with the tier 2 sub, thank you very, very much. False Shitter, thank you for the $5. Philip Jeanhart with the 50 euros, thank you very, very much. Have you ever read about the Spiral Dynamics model? The only thing I know about Spiral came from Gurren Lagann, so I'm afraid not. I can give it a look, though. Spiral Dynamics. Sounds cult-like. Pro Social Spark, thank you for the very kind $50. I really, really appreciate that. Door knocking is still an engaged method of canvassing, even in the COVID era. Dendrago, thank you for the $5. Cypher23, thank you for the tier 1 sub. Really appreciate that. It's probably interesting. Illendale, thank you for the very kind $20. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. Sorry, I got to skip over all these links for extremely obvious reasons for anyone who's watching this right now. Phoenix, Sailor Boy again, Edinan, and Heartbroken Lamb, thank you for the $5 all. That's very, very kind of you. Probably Snarky and Sake Tanuki, thank you for the $10 both. Really appreciate that. Baka Mono Dragon and Pareto Salad, thank you for the tier 2 subs. That's very kind of you. We're back now to 10 days in the past. Are these really things that I haven't read? Thibson34 and Big Poobus, thank you for the $5 both. I'm really sorry to hear that, Big Poobus, but, you know, I hope you're doing okay. Oh, wait, I think we might have reached the end. Sake Tanuki with the incredibly kind $25. And yes, the thing no longer updates. Okay, that means we're on the last 50 now. Wow, this had gone back 10 days. That is ridiculous. Well, in the air of fairness, I'm going to continue to read the old donations with the same speed that I have up to this point, and then I will read the days from today, donos from today, at an appropriate, ordinary, typical speed. Thank you. Selung B and Piotr Online, thank you for the $5 both. Chemical Handbook, thank you for the tier 1 sub. Thank you very, very much. Space Daddy, thank you for the $10. Happy to have you here in the real chat. Sake with the 4 gifted tier 1 subs, and then the 2 gifted tier 1 subs again 4 days later, right next to each other now. Thank you very, very much. MJW379, thank you for the $10. Really appreciate that. I might give that a look sometime. And Dendrago with the $5. The one link from a past stream that we will look at because it was the last one and also because it involves 2 cats. There we go. And one cat licking the other so quickly that it seems to be entering hyperspeed, which is good and worth our time. So I don't regret showing that. Okay. We're now on the donations from today. Thank you for sticking with me, guys. Clefairy with the tier 2 sub. I used to be Clefairy Femboy. Now I'm just Clefairy. Also now I'm HRT. On HRT. Wow. That was quite the pipeline there, wasn't it? Also, I agree with Tucker. Let's bang the M plus M's. Oh, we do. We do. Congratulations. I hope the transition goes well. I assume that's what you were suggesting that was happening. It seems like a reasonable assumption. Isekai Protag, the tier 1 sub. Opulence is the best Contra Points video. All Contra videos are the best Contra videos. Rorin, thank you for the tier 3 sub. Really appreciate that. Happy for your sub, whether it's auto-renewed or not. Sumji, thank you for the $5. Puna Partisani, thank you for the incredibly kind $50. It's 3 a.m. here, but still gotta watch the wash. The wash, sorry. Of course. I'm sorry that so much of the stream so far has been so self-referential. We'll fix that in a second. Thank you. Poe on Head, thanks the $5. Green or brown M&M. Why would you assume that I would limit my interest to the female M&Ms? Jesus, talk about compulsive heterosexuality. The real answer, of course, is that all of them are repulsive, and I have no interest in fucking them because I'm not so horny and so lonely that vaguely anthropomorphizing a sphere is enough to get me going. That is curvy piece of driftwood territory, and I am not that far down the road. I'm not that far down the road. The thing that gets me is that, like, they could have done so much with the personified M&Ms, and then they just didn't, you know? Like, they gave them, like, different faces and, like, little arms and legs or whatever. You know? Like, nobody has an outfit. There's no, like, narrative. They could have made them like the 7 Dwarves, you know? They could have all had, like, different, like, vibes. I don't know. I need to be careful with what I'm wishing for. I'm wishing for an expanded Marvel Cinematic Universe, except for M&Ms. Old Man Shea, thank you for the tier 3 sub. Really appreciate that. Neo Void, the tier 1 sub. NC said in a stream he used to be a conservative. With his current takes, do you still think he is a con and only he says he's left because he's married to Luna? No, I think that incoherence and political ignorance are pretty common across the aisle. And I think it's totally possible that he just completely believes everything, you know? Oh, wait, hold on. I'm sorry. I try not to bully. But I did see this. I was looking at his YouTube video because I was curious, you know? about the comments. I'm looking, I like posted a screenshot somewhere. Here. But I don't know if I'll be able to find it because I never saved it or posted it anywhere like meaningful. But maybe I can just find it in the comments. There was somebody who was criticizing him, and he like doubled down on the memes in the responses, and it's like so wild. Yeah, here it is. Okay, yeah, I could just find it right here. Double down on the philosophy, not like on the whatever. Okay. You know. I've never read a philosophy paper or sat in a lecture that used your definition of dialectical materialism. I'm telling you this in good faith. If you insist that DM is an ethical theory, you're going to lose anyone educated in philosophy outside of Vietnam. As it stands, having watched your debate with Vosh, I can say with confidence that any of my philosophy professors, especially the ones who taught me Hegel and epistemology, would have taken his side with respect to your definitions. You're right that the vitriol that Luna gets is unacceptable. That's why I'm saying this. You undermine your own credibility when you mix up definitions like rationalism and idealism, for example. I have a lot of questions about what your idea of dialectical materialism is, and here, the rest of it is here. Hold on. From Non-Compete. What I've learned from this is that the left in the West has been totally ideologically gutted. I am considering it my mission now to try to rebuild because it's scary how much this knowledge has been eradicated. I know for certain that I use these terms correctly in the context of dialectical materialism because I've talked to several Marxist PhDs before and since who have verified it all for me. So yeah, it's my uphill battle to climb, I guess, on my own. I don't really care, though. The work is important, and the truth is on my side. And it's clear that idealism and individualism and competitiveness has made a large segment of the Western left resilient to intellectual curiosity and good faith inquiry before forming judgments, which will make it impossible to build a real revolutionary movement. So it seems important enough to pursue. I like it. That's very good. I like individualism being thrown in here as well, because it's so clear that he's reading from like the textbook of how to worship the Vietnamese state. You know what I mean? Ah, yes, it's those decadent Western leftists and their adherence to individualism read not being subservient to state authority. Of course, there are critiques of individualism, but like they're not usually like individualism in the context of promoting the ideology of self-reliance, the exclusion of participation in social structures that would act in the betterment of the proletariat's class interests. But yeah. Non-Compete nuked his own Discord yesterday, apparently. All I can confirm is that it's gone. Man, these people are terrible at introspection, you know? Or like self-reflection, you know what I mean? People are always like, man, Vosh gets so much criticism. He never learns or reflects. And then they'll say some shit that's like objectively, provably, irrevocably, broadly accepted to be incorrect. And they'll like rewrite all of reality in order to not have to acknowledge that. Man, when does it just become like covert anti-Semitism? Holy shit. Not that this excludes Vosh from being a good leftist, but he did grow up extremely wealthy. The man has never been a part of the working class, so it makes sense he has the watered-down liberal politics. Past a certain point, I gotta wonder, man. I really, really, really have to wonder how much of this is like class analysis and how much of this is just Hollywood equals Jew equals wealthy, you know? I genuinely don't know. I had a comment reply to that NC comment, but it's not visible on your screen. Did he remove it as YouTube remove comments randomly? He probably removed it. If you you can't delete comments on a YouTube video, but you can like hide them, I think. So like it'll show up for you, but you're like shadow banned on the channel. So like there might be people like insulting non-compete. It is weird that this has 37 likes 6 days ago a post and no responses to it, you know. Might have just deleted or like hid them or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. This wealth shit seems so weird. Weren't Marx and Engels rolling in it? Well, Engels was. Marx had to beg for rent money, you know. But yeah. Okay. I did do the moon landing. That's true. Yeah. Hold on. Let's finish these donos. Also, Jazz Dog put out another banger, which this channel will always give party to. I say that that's not true if I don't want to go over something I want. Um, but it is a banger. CK Tofu and Fishy K, thank you for the tier 1 subs both. Really appreciate that. All things Mario at the $5. Can you show love to my Mario channel? You didn't even bother to link it. Also, no. I love you. Stomnio, thank you for the $5. Did you read my dono? I must have, because all the donos below yours have been cleared out. Koi Cadaver, thank you for the incredibly kind $50. I know how to do this now, and you're doing such a good job of it, too. Thank you. I love it when people are exceptionally well-trained in the art of giving me $50. Thank you very, very much. Claire Bear, thank you for the $3.98. Really appreciate that. Happy to hear that you've enjoyed my videos, and don't worry about Jordan Peterson. He recently promoted a video in which I featured on Twitter. Melhor Omo and Dash and Scan, thank you for the $5 both. Really appreciate that. Your take on good bad taste is basically the ethos of the awful taste but great execution subreddit. That's a great subreddit. Why is most of the anime you watch modern shonen shows? Not judging, just thought you'd find most of the stuff to be normalizing meritocracy beliefs. I don't think there's a relationship between those things necessarily. If anything, I feel like one of the cool premises about those like fantasy shonen shows is that meritocracy is kind of real in those shows, like justified in universe, right? I mean, to an extent. The problem with meritocracy isn't the concept of meritocracy. The problem with meritocracy is the misguided belief that it exists, right? But if it's a world and it's like, well, the harder you train, the more fireballs you can shoot. Like, I don't know, whatever, it's cool. Yeah, but I think it's fine to enjoy those. Like, but a lot of them, yeah, a lot of them also aren't meritocratic, right? At all? Yeah, Jujutsu Kaisen certainly isn't. One Piece is explicitly about like a tyrannical government, like cruelly, like suppressing the global population. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's all the big ones are. Yeah, I don't know. Even in Dragon Ball Z, it was like Goku didn't train as hard as Vegeta, but Goku was always stronger, right? Yeah, I don't know. Whatever. Waluigi Bound, thanks to Duke gifted tier 1 subs. Have fun with these. I'm sure there will. Juzo worth the $5. Typed something out in what I can only assume is Latin, but it might have slurs in it, so I'm not going to read it. I don't know. Benek, thank you for the $5. Glad you enjoyed Fooling Ideas NFT video. It does slap. Sir Brethen, thank you for the $10. Excuse me. Did you ever check out Joe versus Elon School? Do you plan on peeping the final season of AOT when it's done? I've already read the manga. It's basically enough. I'm tired of Attack on Titan, to be honest with you. It was like really interesting at the beginning, and since then it's like peaked in a couple points, but the consistent thread has not been as engaging. That's one of the problems. Like oftentimes like stories or media properties that are like big into the intrigue and mystery of the initial setting, like it's very difficult to fill in those gaps in a way that's like really, really satisfying, you know? Also, I feel like a lot of them fall into the trap of explaining the mysteries of their world. I don't know if that's necessary, right? When there are big mysteries in the real world, usually it's not about uncovering them, it's about navigating them. You fill in a couple of pieces, but only enough to allow you to move forward. The big mysteries of the world are often only alluded at, you know? I think it's okay to leave those mysteries, or like, I don't know. I think that's one of the reasons why Dark Souls and its storytelling is remembered fondly in retrospect. It's because Dark Souls did have this like intrigue, mystery, why are things the way they are setting, and it never like the final boss of the Dark Souls games isn't like a guy staring at you saying, "Aha, it was me. I was the one who orchestrated the Age of Fire," you know? You just meet like an old dude who's dead several times and on fire. You know, it was me. I was the dark soul, you know? Like, you don't, yeah. You know what I mean? It's always kept kind of vague, and you can piece together stuff. That's worthwhile. You should react to Destiny's critique of your debate with Econ Boy. I assume he went over the second one as well, because he went over both debates with Econ Boy, no doubt. He seemed to have some legitimate criticisms worth addressing. Probably not, you know? That's sort of like looking for an apple in a sewage tank in terms of legitimate criticisms towards me from Destiny. Seems highly unlikely. Yeah. I tend to get my advice from people who I haven't just left in the dust. Intellectually, of course. But if there are any criticisms or whatever, you're free to like email me. I can give them a look. I feel like all the empirical claims that I made were empirically backed. I think the problem is I had this convo with Destiny and he was pigheaded about it. To Econo Boy's credit, like Econo Boy was a lot more honest about it, but like I had the whole worker co-op conversation with Destiny like 2 years ago and it was a huge waste of time. Right? Yeah, like 2 years ago, right? Wasn't it like a 4-hour conversation? And it was just like, well, in what ways would eliminating the bourgeois and having like the economy be democratized like fix some of these systemic problems? And I went through it and he was like, okay, well, that wouldn't do anything. And then ad infinitum for like 4 hours. The issue is like to liberals, like you have empiricism through like data analysis or whatever, but the moment you like strike out on any ideological claims, like they shut down completely. Um, though in Destiny's case, again, it probably has less to do with being a liberal and has more to do with being very spiteful. Still haven't heard you explain what a TIF is. My brain purges the info. Can you respond to the questions of why workers would sacrifice the value of their equity in exchange for more workers joining their co-op? That's legitimately something worth considering. It's answered by reality. We have co-ops. Worker cooperatives, even ones with flat income, aren't like a mythical thing. They're a real thing that currently exists. I don't need to answer that. We already have worker co-ops. It's already a thing that exists presently. Like, why would they sacrifice the value of their equity? Because workers are capable of brain thought, and they know that bringing more workers on board of an organization would allow them to expand and potentially better themselves. Like to put it another way, during price shocks and economic downturns, worker cooperatives, the members of them tend to vote to lower their own wages rather than fire people. They're clearly very, very, very willing to accept pay fluctuations um, in times of economic necessity. And most co-ops aren't like flat co-ops where everyone gets the exact same amount and any new addition means that the pie slices grow thinner in each direction, you know? Usually people are entitled to proceeds from a portion of profits and like amounts are set aside for other considerations or they're left to managerial discretion. And when you hire new people, you have the probationary period to see if they fit in with the company culture. And if things go well, then you get like it's not like the question why would workers sacrifice some of their equity by allowing new people to join the co-op is a question answered by reality. Um, is that seriously a question Destiny posed? Toyevich said, "I'm genuinely asking. Was it really? Is that how stupid the um so socialist? Have you considered like they already exist? All right. I think he said something about capital investment being necessary for a company to be created. People need to buy into a co-op to be part of it. There are co-ops that don't have people buy into it. If someone doesn't buy in, they don't really own the business. I don't know if I'm kind of economically illiterate. He legitimately doesn't understand how co-ops work then. It's either because he's unintelligent or because his brain is addled by dislike then. There are co-ops where people don't need to buy in. Again, we're arguing the conceptual impossibility of a thing that exists and has existed for a long time. And ownership is less the concern for me so much as control. Control of the means production, ownership of the means production, often used interchangeably, but the democracy element is what I consider for meaningfully. Not that if the business was sold, they would get like a portion of the sale revenue or whatever. Not that their name would be on the deed or anything like that. In terms of capital investment, I feel like I covered that in the Econoboy debate. The worker co-ops allow split screen? Yeah, but only if you don't look. I wonder how small co-ops would compete with larger co-ops that could suffocate competition in a predominantly co-op society. How would that be managed? You know that happens in like business in general, right? Like, I wonder how small businesses would compete with larger businesses that could suffocate competition in a business economy. Well, it's a complicated question, but it's a thing that happens already, right? And you generally address that with regulation, not with like whether or not a business is democratic. And I do believe in regulation. Have you considered that private corporations are people? I have not factored that into my calculations. I'm wondering, would it be better or worse? It'd be about the same. Worker cooperatives don't fix all the problems with the market economy. It's one half of the pie. It like there sometimes people are like, not today, Merrick. sometimes people are like, you know, well, this problem would continue to exist under like, you know, uh, market socialism, which yeah, you know, people will still get appendicitis under market socialism. It doesn't fix all problems. It fixes some problems. And I think politically, it puts us in a good position to fix other problems. I think, for example, that it will be much easier to regulate markets when all political and economic decision making isn't being made by a distinct political class, and where there's much more transparency in every economic institution, because everyone within any corporate structure has to be voted into their position and is therefore subject to the whims of those beneath them. I think those things will lead to an environment which makes regulation a lot easier. Yeah, Merrick. Yeah. Yeah. Are we good? You're saying you want to genocide corporations? I'm just saying that oppressed people should have the right to do what they want with corporations, okay? Okay, come on. Let me see. Anarchy is base 20. Thank you for the $5. Yes, Marxist.org does indeed have audiobooks of like a bunch of lefty texts. Actarios, the $5. Hey Vosh, do you think it's unethical for everyone to be placed on an organ donor list for when they die? No, I think countries should have you on an organ donor list by default. And you should have to opt out of it if you're an asshole. Hold on. Also, something Destiny mentioned was that some workers might not vote to increase their workload in favor of some marginal benefit to other workers. They might vote in an increase their pay without regard for other workers. Well, then it's a wonderful thing that we have actual existing co-ops. I don't. What is this? What is this idealism? Listen, I'm a dialectical materialist. Okay, we have existing worker cooperatives. Okay, the issue is here's the fact of the matter. Okay, Destiny, like a lot of liberals, thinks the average worker is like a dumbass, okay? It's the same contemptuous classist disregard for them that the aristocrats had for the peasantry back in the day. It's a holdover from his libertarianism. What if the workers were just really stupid? What if they all voted to make their salary $1 billion and then the next day they ran out of money and had to default? Well, we have co-ops, and those things don't tend to happen. Idiot. Jesus. And it's not as though traditional corporations don't constantly fuck themselves over, but well, if you put the workers in charge, there's no reason to believe that putting the workers in charge, who would then vote on a manager to like centralize decisions in a firm or whatever, would then like be a colossal idiot. There are managers in existence right now in traditional corporations who are colossal idiots, who do fuck over the entire corporation. I'm sure that will continue to happen sometimes in worker cooperatives, but I don't think there's any reason to believe it would happen more often. Evidence suggests it happens less often because co-ops tend to be a little bit better at weathering economic crises, which are the real like testing period for businesses. How resilient are they, you know? If these are the qualities of like the good faith intellectual challenges that he's like throwing at me these days, then holy fuck, you know? Yeah, it's an indication of being so desperate. He's so desperate for your content, he went over the ethics of drowning video on a Vosh clip channel today. Jesus Christ. People who say there's a mutual obsession, doesn't he literally spend like hours on his stream going over my shit? Like every single time he comes up in my stream, it's because somebody in chat says something or brings up something or like someone donates or whatever. I'm pretty sure he independently seeks out hours of content to view. And he's so desperate for my attention and so in need of things to criticize that he's out here criticizing worker co-ops for things for which there is empirical evidence that don't happen, you know? Yeah, it's like stalker shit. It's really fucking weird, you know? Like when he jumped onto a panel to talk with me, to say that in spite of previous positions he's advocated for, actually, social workers are scarier than cops to people having mental breakdowns. No evidence provided, like nothing, just like he came to disagree. And then like he spent the remaining 2 hours of the panel just sullenly, silently, like just sitting there because that's all he wanted. He just wanted my attention for a bit, and that's it, you know. The Vosh channel comment section are constantly bombarded by DGGers. Yeah, they paid like an obscene amount of attention to me, you know? Yeah, so obsessed he's risking Twitch TOS to cover me constantly on his Twitch channel. It's really fucking weird. How would co-ops and government run businesses or related businesses like state universities and stuff? I don't know much about how schools should be run. There's a lot of really interesting stuff on that. I'm not that educated on it. I know that the way schools are run right now, is a problem. But the specifics of how to run that are a bit different, you know. Yeah. Yeah, everyone say hi Destiny because he's what like probably not 100%, probably likely to cover this. Yeah. All right, does that cover everything? Fuck, every time I finish there's more shit. Oh my god. Thank you, Paul DSSB, for the gifted tier 1 sub to High Progressive. And Miss Snoozable, thank you for the very kind $20. If you were anti-Bernie or bust during 2016 on YouTube, do you think you'd get the same hate as you did in 2020? Is Biden the problem or just non-Bernie? I feel like I'd be even more disliked back then because Hillary Clinton is way less likable than Biden. Biden's like a funny old dude, you know? Hillary Clinton is like a detestable... Like, you don't even have to get into, like, anything she's done or any of her positions. She's just, like, imminently immediately, intuitively a detestable person, you know? Just like in every respect. There are things about Biden that I legitimately like. I think he's a funny dude, you know? Challenging people to push-ups or whatever, you know? I think he's a funny guy. I like that. Hillary Clinton wouldn't challenge people to a push-up contest because Hillary's a bitch. No shot. Fuck, my hands are cold. God damn it. Oh, I've said this before too, but if to cap it off, I've said that like Destiny's main issue is spite, and that's true. My criticism won't update, you know. It's not an insult, because insults are something that I have to vary so that they can stay interesting. But it's just the thing that he is, so it's going to remain the case. I'll put slippers on. But I think another thing that he is a reactionary in the sense that he's classist, which is worth bringing up. Everything from the just move thing, the idea that like people who complain about how high rent is when they live in big cities should just move elsewhere, even though big cities need people being paid wages for minimum wage jobs in order to survive. Like, if all the people who paid more than 1/3 of their salary in rent in LA just left, LA would collapse, right? Because those people prop up LA, right? It's a very stupid point. Like, it doesn't take much thought to understand, like, oh, wait, the city needs these people, but it also doesn't provide them what they need to live there. That is a problem. But he reassigns that back to their poor decision making. Oh, they should just move out to Arkansas and live in a house that costs $2 or whatever. That alongside his critiques of worker co-ops seeming to stem from him thinking workers are stupid, which is what he said on Twitter, I think, like 2 Twitter accounts ago and like 18 Twitter purges ago. And later he contextualized this by saying like, well, you know, anyone's stupid if you haven't been educated or whatever. But I think that deep down, one of the holdovers from, no, not holdovers from, one of the things that causes people to be libertarian, which is what he was for the longest time, was the deep-seated belief that you're better than everyone else. And I think that's what motivated everything else that he's done and everything else that he's believed, if that makes any sense. He doesn't seem to care much about democracy because the people are stupid. You know, any system which enables democracy, he doesn't like very much, or he seems to have some kind of innate disdain for the intelligence of the people in that system. You know, most of his like, yeah, I don't know, most of his like debate advocacy seems to be like the sort of aesthetic performative enjoyment of being smarter than the people you're talking to, if that makes any sense, you know. um I think that actually speaks to him more than contrarianism or whatever. Like, does that make any sense? I think that, like, that's one of the reasons why libertarianism is appealing. But I think the only reason he moved off libertarianism isn't because his, like, fundamental ideology changed. It's because he found a better system for being smarter than other people. And of course, it's serving him very poorly with, you know, wise criticisms of worker co-ops like, well, what if they all just voted to raise their wages up super high? Right. You know, Econoboy, to his credit, would never have said something that stupid. Um, I think Econoboy is quite a bit smarter on this than he is, but, you know. Oh yeah, sure, Mortimer. All right, hold on. The fuck is this? Vosh reacts to Destiny becoming Vosh gender. How many layers deep are we here? Oh my god. Yeah, I don't know. Or very react to it. I'm not reacting to that. I'm not reacting to that. If I react to that, somebody's gonna clip it. Somebody's gonna clip that, you know? Yeah, I don't want there to be a Vosh reacting to yeah. Oh my god. I'm telling you, the only person who's in other people's minds is me being in your mind when you think that I'm overthinking on Destiny. Holy shit. I don't think we've mentioned Destiny in like 2 weeks, okay? Given how much he vies for my attention, I feel like that's pretty impressive. He certainly wants to be talked about. There. Okay. All right. Schlepp in Life, Femk Ultra, thanks to the tier 1 subs. Fail Sans, thank you to the $2. There's one link and one Jazz Dog video that'll go over soon. We need to finish this goddamn thing, okay? Holy shit. We can't keep putting this off, folks. Still doing donos? No, we're done. We're done. It's been an hour. I'll do the thing soon, okay? Hold on. Editors, it is time. It's time for you to splice the other half of the video together, because the other half was from like 3 days ago. And we're doing it. When last we left, our intrepid hero, Dylan Burns, he was arguing with Haas, a.k.a. Infrared, a.k.a. the Boy Wonder, on whether or not Taiwan was real or idealism. Or something like that,
I don't care. I don't care. Then walk out!
My God, you yell a lot for a guy who's dodging a boxing match.
I'm dodging the fucking boxing match.
Yes, you are.
Really? So you want me to dedicate 6 months of my time at the expense of my streaming career to train for fucking boxing?
Wait,
we saw this.
You challenged Vosh and since he didn't accept it.
No, I didn't.
Pussy.
Actually,
you did.
actually,
I got the
I did not. No.
You fucking coward.
Oh, really?
You
Look at this
coward.
fucking liar. This fucking liar going on record saying
coward.
I challenged Vosh.
Yes, you did. You called him a pussy for not accepting it.
No, I didn't.
Yes,
First
you
of
did.
all, someone came in my fucking chat and asked me. Someone came in my chat and asked me, would you fight Vosh for a prize money of $50,000 or $80,000? Fuck yeah, I would.
Then you challenge Bad Empanada.
That would cover all of the.
Oh my god, a fight between Infrared and Bad Empanada would be so fucking funny. There's no way Bad Empanada would be able to last that out, right? I feel like they're probably the same height, but like Haas works out. I don't know.
Streaming all of the fucking yearly costs. I could sacrifice my streaming career to fucking do that. So of course I'm gonna accept that. Furthermore, you're a fucking nobody, and Vosh has some clout. So there's something there to gain from that.
I'm bigger than you.
You're bigger than Vosh?
I'm bigger than you.
How long have you been in the scene? You
But
got
I'm
your
so bigger
shit.
than you. How can you call me nobody when I'm bigger than you?
You got all your fucking clout from the November election. I'm rapidly rising, average 600 views. I see your viewership when I'm live. You don't have more fucking views than me. I already fucking outpaced you, Dylan, and I've been here less time than you have.
What happened to the Infrared Showdown?
What happened?
Is he 600 average? I'm not on Twitch anymore. When I left Twitch, I thought usually like 300 average. I don't know. It might have gone up since then. I don't actually know. Yeah, bragging about view count is like virgin behavior, of course, but we already know he is one, so that's not like new information. Wait, what is that? Soli Gnome, right? Hold on. Infrared Soli Gnome is that tracker of Twitch analytics, I think, that shows average view count. That's pretty good. There was a peak here. I don't know what was going on here, where it was about 900, 700 here, and 500 here. I guess, yeah, 500? Probably 500 leveled. I don't know what this peak was, but yeah. That's good. Wait, let me see. What about Dylan Burns? Maybe let me zoom out a little bit. Yeah, if you don't count the peak. Oh, this only looks for the past 7 days. Hold on, wait. Let's look at the past month. There we go. Okay, yeah, we need to zoom out. Here we go. Okay, at the past month, yeah, I don't know what this peak was. Wow, a lot of people. I don't know, like 500. That feels like about the gist. That's what the average viewers here says. So 500, 600 is close to 500. We can go with that. What about Infrared Dylan Bernardino? Wait, no. Soli Gnome. Dylan Bernardino. Yeah, also right around 5. Here, wait, hold on. 30 days. He gets peaks for the panels when he does the panels every week. So that's like the peak point. And otherwise, the average view is about 500. Actually, a bit less than infrared. Uh-oh. Infrared rising. Got to win the boxing match.
The showdown is that I came to LA
out of business
for a month.
In 1 month.
Oh yeah?
Month.
I went to LA. I went to LA for a month. I went to LA for a month and got COVID. That's
How can you
what
be so
happened.
manly online and be such a coward?
How am I a coward?
You're a coward because you go out like you're a big, strong.
I am. You want to fucking test me outside?
You really gonna threaten me right now?
I'm not. I'm saying you want to ask if I'm a big man, or then go ahead and test me outside.
You really want to go outside and fight me right now?
You can test me. You're free to test my manhood.
Dude,
You're free to test my manhood,
Dude,
Dylan.
Okay, this test your manhood thing, he means fucking. Dylan, you're a baby gay. You missed the code. This means fucking, okay? He's not saying fight, he's saying test your manhood, okay? You're missing the innuendo.
Don't assume that a fucking boxing match with rules. Hey, don't assume a fucking boxing match with rules is gonna be the same as a street fighter.
You know what happened?
Then test me. Then test me.
They all got
test me.
obliterated. They all went away. Okay. The problem is, infrared. You asked me. Oh, here's all the conditions. You said first we're gonna. Okay, it's Michigan. It's Detroit. It's gonna be at this gym. It's gonna be 10 rounds. And I meet every single one of the things you asked me for that boxing match.
No, it's not.
And then
you asked me. Hold on.
I know how to defend myself.
I have the DMs.
And now you're a coward. Go get them.
I have the.
Yeah, I challenge you. After you challenge everyone else.
I have the DMs.
Get them.
Can we go back to the topic?
I have the DMs.
Can we go back to the topic?
No, wait, this is as intellectually relevant as the topic was.
Here's Dylan. So here's what happened. Actually, here's what happened. It was 3 a.m. my time in LA. This psychopath, coping loser, he's up at 6 a.m. all night. He's seething about me, thinking about me.
What?
I was banned on Twitch. I forgot who this fucking guy was. He DMs me. He goes, what a weirdo. He goes, look at this. I'm scrolling to it. He says, let's have a boxing match.
I want this to be the energy at the next Politicon, okay? I want to be up there with Charlie Kirk, and we're both angrily screaming over each other into, like, one mic, and we're both pulling out our phones, going like, look at these DMs! Look at these DMs! Like, holding them up as if anyone else can see them at the distance we're standing from the stage, you know? Look at these! Here's what you said! And we're both, like, screaming over each other the whole time. That'd be good. Again, an honest representation of politics, okay? Really getting down to the bare bones of the issue.
I'm with my boy Jackson on his roof smoking a cigar. I get this fucking DM. Let's have a boxing match. It'll be fun.
And then you
3 a.m. Then I said, okay. Need 1 month minimum for training and promotion.
So you agree?
That's reasonable.
You agree?
You're right. But nobody told me you had experience.
Wait. So the problem is you.
Listen. Hold on. If you don't recognize that boxing is about experience, you're a fucking idiot. Boxing is all about experience.
That works.
It's not a street fight. It's not a fucking street fight. It's not something you just, it's not just something
Let's do MMA then.
MMA is not a street fight either.
So literally, you're just saying let's go into an alleyway and fight, which you know I can't.
If you want, no, I'm saying if you want to test my manhood, that's on you.
Well,
this is in Dylan. This is like when you realized 2 years ago that the chick at the party who was asking you if you wanted to help her take her coat off in the bedroom upstairs, when you realized she was flirting with you and not actually asking for help taking off a coat. And when you were like, you can probably take off the coat yourself, you dumb bitch, you were actually like missing an opportunity, you know? Those shower thoughts.
I just think you're a coward and you backed out of it because then you learn to know how to defend myself.
Why are you worth it to me?
Because you go around and you challenge all these people.
To
right?
what?
You challenge Bad Empanada, for example. You challenge him. You said you go to Argentina.
Yeah.
Then I say I'll go to your city, your gym, your community.
Yeah. Because I was willing to go there for him because I hate the guy that much. Yeah.
And you accept my boxing.
So it's worth it to me. So somehow it's worth it to me.
You dodged it because you're a coward.
So let's continue.
You're not a real
let's
man.
Continue.
You just flex on the internet.
Go ahead. You can keep talking about a real man. You look like a fat fuck.
All right.
So you would lose to a fat guy.
You look like an inbred fat retard.
Yeah. You'd lose to a
Inbred fat retard.
You look like
an inbred fat retard.
You scared of fat guy.
Shu, you're just in time to see the modern state of the online left.
So let's continue. So Dylan kept asking.
Wait, I'm fat, so you'd lose them.
You look like an inbred fat retard.
So you'd lose to a fat retard. That's what you're saying.
Dylan.
Fat retard.
Okay, the challenge is out there. wrap this up real quick. Then we'll go to closing statements.
Wonderful.
He kept asking me 21 questions like, what's your weight class? Where do you want to have it? How many
Yeah,
rounds
because
do you
I
want to
wanted
have?
to schedule it.
And I was just responding to you. I didn't impose all these fucking conditions on you.
No,
you
I
kept
asked
asking me the
I
conditions.
made sure that all the then you said 10 rounds and I say, hey, that's ridiculous because you don't know anything. And then you were like, no, we have to do 10 rounds. I'll make sure it's my
No, what
gym
you
now.
said
You
is
didn't know anything about
that you
it.
said a gym would not allow 10 rounds.
Yeah, I was like, of course they
I
won't
said I
allow
could find.
10
I said I could.
10 rounds
I
for an
said I
amateur
know of
boxing
gyms
match.
in Detroit
Can
that.
anyone tell me, does this ever actually happen? Every time people online are like, all right, let's put aside the bullshit, let's just fight. Does it ever actually happen? The last time I remember this, like, getting close to happening was with Tonka Saw and Andy Worski, who were two, like, alt-right dudes back in the day who fell out. I don't even remember why. But then, like, Tonka Saw didn't do a blood check or something, and the whole thing got cut off. Like, I don't know. Yeah, Tonka trucks. Yeah. And when you debate a house with the same screeching, it's just this stuff never happens, you know? Like, it never actually comes to this, okay? Like, at all. It's not gonna happen, okay? It'd be funny if it did, but like, dude, I'll be clear. I will never fight anyone, okay? You know why? Because I have flawless skin, and I would never let these fucks, these subhuman degenerates, so much as scrape it, okay? It's not worth it, all right? Jesus Christ. It'd be like challenging the Sistine Chapel to like a pissing contest or something. Like, why? Why would I ever disgrace my beauty, okay? Usually the people who challenge people to fights are the ones with the least to lose, the most to gain, and like nothing. You know what I mean? The people who want to go down and like settle issues with a boxing match are the people who are desperate for attention, never the ones who are like comfortable and complacent with their position, you know? It should be treated as a sign of desperation. They could arm wrestle. That might be good. Because that's pretty straightforward, you know? Haas would probably win the arm wrestle, though, right? Dude's got a big arm.
Will tolerate 10 rounds, and I'll get that. I didn't force the condition.
And I agreed to it
I didn't
anyway.
force any conditions. If you had a problem with that, you could have said so.
And I agreed to all of it.
Okay, so I think where we've gotten to with this is there may be a boxing match in the future.
It's not gonna happen. There's no way. There's no
That
way.
being said, now you guys had loved a little bit about the will of the people, the history of China. Let's wrap it up for the next few minutes, closing that one if we can avoid the boxing discussion.
I did intro, he can start outro.
And so we'll do that, then open it up to questions and answers at that point. So,
Yeah, Taiwan is not a country. The overwhelming majority of sovereign countries in the world, if not almost pretty much all of them, don't recognize it as one. They recognize it as a vague breakaway province that's still struggling with the central government of China. The country of Taiwan, supposed country of Taiwan, the official government is called the Republic of China. There has never been a significant dispute as to whether there is one China or not. This issue has been forced by the Americans. And it's as simple as that. Both the KMT, which founded Taiwan as a separate political territory, and the Communist Party of China, both have always agreed there is only one China. The pro-independence movement has never actually changed the foundation of Taiwan as being based in the foundational ideals of Sun Yat-sen, which are also shared by the Communist Party of China.
Okay, so the first thing about international recognition that needs to be noted here is international recognition.
Okay, wait. Honest question. If we're on the ending statements here and the delusion, are they going to back? Okay, it looks like they back and forth. I don't know why they're doing ending statements if they're going to keep back and forth. In Q&A, maybe?
Matters not at all, in my opinion, when it comes to designating whether a nation is a nation or not a nation. Because if that's the case, then the mainland was not a country until what, 1971, when it was admitted to the United Nations? Or was it a country when the majority of nations finally tipped from Taiwan to China, mainland China that is, when it comes to recognizing what country is and isn't the actual China? Because if that's the case, then what we're saying is that the mainland government wasn't a country until 1971, but 1970 it totally wasn't a country, even though it had all the trappings of a country. International recognition
We're putting
doesn't
on the
matter
gloves.
as much to me when it comes to this. Definitely when it comes to the idea of like, well, what about these superpowers that recognize it? Well, America doesn't recognize it. That doesn't matter to me. Doesn't matter to me at all. If every nation in the world tomorrow said we no longer recognize the United States as a nation, that doesn't mean the United States is no longer a nation state. It has all the trappings of a nation state. And when you look at Taiwan, it has its own language. It has its own separate history. It has its
Language?
Yes, you don't know about 70% Taiwanese language? You don't know that?
How is it a separate language? They speak Han
The
Chinese.
Taiwanese, okay, you don't know what you're talking about. Anyway.
There's dialects of Han Chinese
It's
within
my
China
outro.
too.
It's my outro. Okay?
So fucking stupid.
Yeah, you are. You're right. Okay. So the thing is, they have all the trappings of a modern.
It's such a stupid debate, man. It's this is like the most. This is in terms of like proximity to reality. This is basically on par with a flat Earth debate. Okay, that's like that's it. Like this is about as close to reality as a flat Earth debate. The idea that like Taiwan isn't a real country or whatever.
State. They've struggled to build a separate.
Why does Haas stand China? It's just like tanky shit, right? Just different set of geopolitical interests, power block, whatever. Anti-American, pro-China. I don't know. Bunch of directions you can take that, I guess.
System of governance, a democracy within Taiwan against an authoritarian system. They've seen the offer from Haas and his buddies, the one country, two systems. They saw it play out in Hong Kong, and the support for independence skyrocketed after seeing the result of that. Because they don't want that for their future.
That's
and
true.
let's say that every single thing Haas said about the history of Taiwan.
Because China lied about everything with Hong Kong, remember? China was like, yeah, dude, after fucking Britain turns you over, we'll totally treat you like a separate, one country, two systems. Let's go. And then, like, people started disappearing and laws started getting changed and mass protests started getting cracked down on. And, we see.
Is completely true. United States did not exist until 1776. Nations can be built with complex cultures and history in the blink of an eye through revolution and civil geopolitical strife. And so what I'm saying here is since they've developed their own culture, the Taiwanese identity is a distinct identity now, and if you poll the people on Taiwan, they identify as Taiwanese majority, not Chinese. Some identify as both, I will say that. They have their own system of governance. They have their own judicial system. They have their own everything. Saying it is not an independent country is plain pretend, which I know communists like to do a lot. So that'll
Hey!
be it.
All right, well, thank you.
Hey.
Conversation.
Rein it in.
Before we open it up for question and answer, I will say, please, if you have a question not dealing with the boxing match, feel free to come forward. If it's dealing with the boxing match, we'll handle those at the end.
He's done. He doesn't have anything to
We'll just
say.
stand in the middle. You don't have to be on one
That's
side
not
or
about the
other,
boxing match.
There's no comments.
You might step a little closer. Microphones are going to pick up from the question for Infrared. Do you believe that it's morally right for Taiwan to be independent?
No.
No.
And why, sir?
I don't think the people have a right to arbitrarily secede simply based on it's a betrayal of China to China's enemies. So I'm against this kind of betrayal. Simple as that.
Can I get a counter to it?
They could say the same thing about America in 1776, but our rebellion was
Yeah, that's really the best moral argument you have. It's a betrayal of the state. That's Jesus. From a communist man. Like that, like it's not just like obviously that's like the latent explanation, but he couldn't even think up of one that didn't come off so obviously. I mean, it's like what a neocon would say. It's exactly what a neocon would say. It's indistinguishable from what a neocon would say.
moral because we knew that the system of government that the king had was fundamentally wrong. Because we wanted
This has nothing to do with the
Shut
material
fuck up.
factors.
Taxation without representation.
It's nothing
is
to do
wrong.
with the material factors behind
taxation
separate
without
That's idealism.
representation is wrong. And as a patriot, as you describe yourself, you should know that.
The Taiwan system would be preserved under one country, two systems.
No, it wouldn't. We saw
Yes,
what
it
happened
would.
in Hong Kong.
In Hong Kong, they passed an extradition bill, and there was a Western-fueled unrest and chaos
Western
that,
CIA.
in order to restore law and order, the police of Hong Kong had to crack down on. What happened during?
Tiananmen Square.
What happened during?
Restore order. I love it. Meow. Is that a pigeon? What is a bird doing in my house? What's up, dipshit? Quiet now, huh? Yeah, that's what I thought.
During the riots of Black Lives Matter and January 6th, was this all an infringement upon the rights of the American people?
What?
That the police cracked down on this?
Was it
unrest?
Was it an infringement? And many times, yes, actually.
So he's comparing the January 6th attack on the Capitol to people in Hong Kong protesting at the extradition bill, along with other stuff China had been doing.
Police brutality is a major issue in this country.
Yes, but does that represent, does it represent the same level of oppression?
Look, you told me to stop. I'm respecting the
That's
moderator,
another
'cause I'm
debate, so let's go
trying-
ahead to the next question.
So I haven't had much time to formulate this question, but it's something like, and I think for infrared first, but I'd like both opinion from both, is what is there actually going to be a benefit to, say, China as a whole, or maybe if you want to say the world as a whole, for China to kind of completely take over Taiwan? I feel like the people of Taiwan, kind of like Hong Kong, when their rules start coming into play, the Taiwanese are going to be like, wait a minute, that's more kind of oppressive than we're used to. We were used to these more freedoms. There's going to be a lot of there's going to be a whole, it's an island nation, isn't it?
Taiwan, yes.
As a whole island nation of very
no.
unhappy people with new oppressive laws being put upon them. And I don't know how, like, who's happy about it? I feel like the Chinese are going to do it. It's going to be messy for them. It's going to be messy for the Taiwanese. Why do it at all? What's the benefit?
So, I have to preface this. In the first place, it's none of our fucking business what China does to its own territory, because we are not China. We're a separate country, and we have to mind our own business and take care of our own people. So that's the first thing that's most important. But secondly, in case it matters, China has no intention of forcing laws or forcing its system on a people that don't want it. What China is interested in conserving is its geopolitical and territorial sovereignty. China does not want foreigners to meddle in its affairs and attempt to seize hegemony over China's sovereignty and China's territory and so on and so on. China wants to protect itself from people who have a history of express military hostility and antagonism toward China, simply for being an independent rising power that is disrupting the American world order of hegemony. So China's first and foremost interest is preserving sovereignty. Its interest is not imposing an ideology
Of itself,
or system,
not of Taiwan, of course.
which is not of any real importance. China knows that it can't impose a system on a people that don't want it. So that's why the one country, two systems was even implemented in the
Really does sound like a neocon, but standing China. This is why I go so hard in the anti-tanky thing. And tankies are just fascists. That's it. This isn't really neocon talk, though. This is, I mean, he's a fascist, right? Like, yeah. A lot of people give, like, credence to this in the left space because they don't like America. But you can dislike America for different reasons, you know? Lefties don't like America. Adolf Hitler didn't like America because the Nazis thought it was controlled by Jews, you know? Lots of wacky reasons a person can dislike this country.
first place.
So when it comes to the idea that it's not really our issue, we have had a historical relationship with the Taiwanese government that goes past multiple administrations. A refugee crisis across from the Taiwan Strait would be a disaster, not only for the world, but especially the United States, considering that the Taiwanese community is quite large in California. I'm pretty sure a lot of them would like to take
Maybe
their
the
family
Nazis
members
had a
because
point.
they wouldn't want to be either politically persecuted or blown up, since again, if you were to exclude the mountainous terrain, Taiwan would be the #1 most dense country in the world with a population of 25 million. To put that in perspective, Syria has a population of 20 million before the Civil War and was the 67th most dense country in the world. And so when we talk about what would be a largely air campaign in Taiwan, that would be a humanitarian disaster, creates a massive refugee crisis. This doesn't even need to talk about our trade relationship with Taiwan and our interest there, or semiconductors, with 50% of the world's semiconductors being produced by the TSMC, which of course is based in Taiwan, which right now with supply line shortages, that being bombed to shit, or us not having access to that, would also be a massive issue for the United States when it comes to the idea it's not our business. Also, China's extremely hypocritical when it comes to this point, because it says that, well, this is a civil war, and Haas correctly technically states that it is technically a historical ongoing civil war. Not even in the same way that it is in Korea, though, because there's tourism.
How do you ever end an ongoing civil war if one side never concedes, right? If the United Kingdom was still like, yeah, you know, America's just an unruly colony. Like, if they still said that, like, is it still an ongoing civil war? At what point does the the material circumstances of the situation override, you know, the consensus of the people involved.
Tourism across lines. There's workers from Taiwan working within there. The tourism industry is gigantic. They trade over like $200 billion, and I think in the last 20 or 30 years alone. So obviously, a civil war where you're trading tourism doesn't really sound like a very bloody civil war that's currently going on. There hasn't been violence in 75 years. But let's pretend that it's a civil war for a moment, right? That it's and not just, you know, on paper. In Myanmar right now, there is what is, if you would to be honest, a civil war. 1/3 of the country, according to certain analysts, 1/3 of the country, according to certain analysts, is controlled by rebel forces that are fighting against a military dictatorship that overthrew the democratically elected government of Aung San Suu Kyi.
This is irrelevant.
Let me finish. Chinese involvement in the civil war.
What is that involvement?
Let me finish.
Military intervention or arms deals?
So, they have sent.
I feel like Dylan could get so much better with the drop in delivery of some of these talking points. The issue is, if you're talking about history and foreign policy, you know, like everything's going to be kind of dry by default. So you really need to sell it in a particular way, like a highly narrativized fashion, which is the only thing you can do in a debate, because there's never going to be time to write out the entire book's worth of information to fully contextualize anything. I feel like sometimes it's a little bit difficult to follow.
Aid to the military government.
That's exactly
They have sold weapons.
Why does this mod not mute Haas or tell him to stop talking? Because they don't care. Like, this isn't real debate. The event was a content farm. Like, get the wackiest, loudest people here and be wacky and loud. Like, them challenging each other to a boxing match or screaming over each other. Like, that's a desired outcome, you know?
To the military government, which they then use to not only ethnically cleanse minorities in the country, but put down rebellions. And what is our involvement when it comes to Taiwan through the Taiwan Relations Act, for example?
Much worse.
Mostly sending them weapons through trade deals, the exact same thing they're doing with their involvement in an active, ongoing civil war where people are dying right now. If they're allowed to do it, why are we not allowed to do it?
U.S. troops are in Taiwan.
U.S. troops are in Taiwan.
Not officially, but they are.
And what about, you want to talk about...
They are secretly and covertly.
They are secretly and covertly.
Yes.
For training operations. Well, maybe because they're an independent nation, they're allowed to have that.
Okay. Well, China, you're saying China's two-faced for selling arms and giving aid to a government that's friendly with?
Because what they do is
But it has friendly relations with that government.
They have and an ongoing civil war. They're taking sides. Also,
the status quo in that country is the government. It's the government that's recognized.
You're telling me the military dictatorship, which
China,
overthrew a democracy, is the status quo.
You don't understand Chinese.
They upended the status quo in Myanmar. What
well, guess what?
About?
Officially speaking, that is the government of Myanmar.
Officially,
China works,
not recognized by many
China
international
works
forces, and you care about international
China works with governments that are in power. China works with the Shah of Iran.
Man, you know what's great? If you can just skip past all this bullshit and just be like, I like things that are good and don't like things that are bad. Why should we defend Taiwan? Because Taiwan is good and China's bad. Well, all states are bad. China's not as good as Taiwan. Taiwan's not as bad as China, okay? Why should we? I don't know. The invasion would be bad. Yeah, okay. Like, whatever. I don't care. Is there an ongoing civil war? No. But if there was, would I care? Not really.
And then it worked with the Ayatollahs. China works with whoever's in power, and it doesn't care about the internal political conflict.
Then America just works with what's in power in Taipei.
No, it doesn't, because America has a specific agenda to meddle in China's affairs and promote independence of China.
And the Chinese are meddling in the affairs of Myanmar.
No, they don't. China's very pragmatic.
Wait, what about with the burning down of factories? And the only time the Chinese got interested and was like, never mind, we really need to stop, was when their factory was getting burned down. They don't care that their guns are being used to mow down protesters.
Yeah, they care. China cares.
They don't care.
Hey,
they will help them.
We can learn from China.
To help mow down protesters?
China cares about China. America should care about America.
So we should sell more weapons to Saudi Arabia then, because it's very profitable.
All right, I think that's a good stop point there. I believe you had the next question, sir.
Wait, hold on. We were arriving at a pointed question.
So this is for both of you, and it's kind of a broader question. We touched on it a bit, but I want to ask directly, kind of what justifies sovereignty for a government? What legitimizes a government? What kind of factors go into whether we should support government? This is an issue not just in Taiwan, but also across the world, like in Ukraine, even in Israel and Palestine.
So this is a philosophical question. And the German theorist, Carl Schmitt, does not define sovereignty based on some kind of external measurement. Sovereignty is, in short, as Hobbes pointed out, based on material realities. Sovereignty is based
We can't escape it, guys. We can't escape. We can't escape people invoking pseudo-philosophical language to say, actually, I believe things that are real.
Based on a monopoly on violence. It's based on force. It's based on might. It's not based on some independent source verifying the sovereignty. Now, you could talk about other countries recognizing your sovereignty, which is an important thing, but sovereignty is based in material, not moral.
Well, okay, Taiwan has the sole control over violence within their borders, and China doesn't. The monopoly of violence within Taiwan is held by Taiwan, by agencies and officials who aren't answerable to the Chinese government. So, there. Also, if sovereignty is determined exclusively by power, then wouldn't that mean, like, every country America invades becomes ours by default? He's citing a Nazi? Oh, yeah, he is citing a Nazi, like, directly. Carl Schmitt was a German jurist, political theorist, and prominent member of the Nazi Party. Oh, well, there you go, I guess. Schmitt wrote extensively about the effective wielding of political power. A conservative theorist, he's noted as a critic of parliamentary democracy, liberalism, and cosmopolitanism. Very good, very good. Intellectual support for and active involvement with Nazis. That's cool. I am infrared. True. Probably can't, like, speed, you know, like, spark notes this guy's entire writings just looking at it. It is funny, though.
Or ethical realities.
Yeah, and the material reality is that Taiwan's government is what controls the island of Taiwan. That's material
Then let them
reality.
try and
Therefore,
declare-
recognize it as a nation.
Then
Like, use your own system.
let them try and declare independence and see what happens.
Wait, so if it walks like a horse, talks like a horse, and it's everything like a horse, but it doesn't...
So wait, keep in mind, like, Infrared's logic here is literally, if a country can invade you, you don't have sovereignty. How is this not? This is, by the way, this is literally the might makes right of fascist dictate, you know? Sovereignty isn't real. People who wield the power are real. That's the only thing that matters, you know? But this justifies American imperialism. This justifies it better than the U.S. State Department does, actually. The U.S. State Department lies and says, like, oh, yeah, dude, we're, like, promoting democracy in Iraq or whatever. But, of course, that's not what they're doing, really. But, you know, if they were just like, yeah, actually, oh, you think Iraq has sovereignty? Let's see them defend themselves against us. Well, damn. I guess that works. Yeah, America has the largest military. Everything is America.
Say I'm a horse. Is it or is it not a horse?
It's not a horse yet because it's not allowed to have U.S. troops on its soil officially.
So if everybody in here said this isn't a phone, would you be like, well, I guess it's
Taiwan is literally restricted from doing things a sovereign nation could do officially.
because the Chinese government has tried to...
Didn't he just say that he uses independent and non-external measurements to determine sovereignty, but now he's saying that it's dependent on the Chinese government saying they can do the thing that they do anyway? Like, he's like, well, officially Taiwan can't do the things that it does because China says they can't. Yeah. It's very dumb.
done on the international stage. But by the way,
It can't have troops on its soil. It cannot have U.S. troops on its soil.
So what you're saying is that the Chinese government, the mainland government, in 1960...
It doesn't walk like a horse.
Let me ask you a
It
question.
doesn't walk like a horse.
Was the Chinese...
A horse can have troops on its soil officially.
I don't know if...
There are a lot of things a horse
I
can
don't know
do.
of any horse that has troops on its soil. But what I will say, if that's what you're saying, then you would have to recognize that in 1960, the government in the mainland China was not a legitimate nation, because it did not have large-scale international recognition or a seat at the United Nations.
The People's Republic of China was not a nation because it didn't have international recognition?
Yeah, 1960.
No. Well, that didn't reflect the material reality, which the world eventually woke up and adjusted to, that the overwhelming majority of the Chinese people are under the sovereignty of the Communist Party. So eventually they woke up to that reality. And is that going to happen with Taiwan?
So, international recognition.
Wait and see. Keep waiting for that to happen for Taiwan.
All right, back there with the
Keep waiting.
recognition. So, T-Chop, you're next. So, you mentioned that China doesn't like to impose things on people that they don't want it, something like that. Except the Uyghurs, Taiwan, Hong Kong. They're building islands. Where does China's border actually end? Like, as you mentioned, the early
The
Chinese...
historical Qing borders that were carved up by the British and other colonialists. But as far as the Uyghur situation is concerned, Xinjiang has been part of China for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. So that is a people who have already been under the system and sovereignty of the Communist Party for a very, very long time. So my point is they're not going to go to another territory and impose their system. The Uyghurs have already been living under the system. Now, if you don't like the details of how that system has been executed so far, it's a separate question. But they have already been living under the system.
Why would you trust the colonialists to draw up the borders? Because the Scarborough Shoal, for example, which China claims, is mostly used by Filipino fishermen and is claimed by the Philippines in international courts, which China recognizes.
Those international courts are illegitimate because
I didn't interrupt
the
you.
territorial
I
dispute,
didn't interrupt you.
The territorial
Jesus
dispute
Christ,
between
shut
China
up.
and the Philippines
Shut up.
has been arbitrated in a
Jesus
bilateral
Christ.
matter. It is not under the jurisdiction of the international court.
And you want to know what? In the bilateral matter, they lost and then they just rejected.
No, they didn't.
Yeah, they did lose.
They came to an agreement with the Philippines. The Philippines didn't like it, so they ran to the UN.
And then the UN said what?
Doesn't matter. China.
Yeah,
this
but UN
it doesn't matter
matters because
the UN has no sovereignty. The UN has no sovereignty to
That is
execute.
so interesting.
The UN has no sovereignty to execute its authority over
So that's
bilateral
interesting.
relations.
So UN recognition by the UN when it comes to Taiwan.
No,
that matters.
because it's not a
Recognition when it comes to
unilateral
this,
matter.
That doesn't matter.
It is a bilateral matter between the
That is so
Philippines and
interesting.
China, which was arbitrated between
Okay,
China
I
and
need
the
to
Philippines.
say one more thing.
And
One
then
last
real
thing.
quick though, I'll let you sum that, then you'll get the last word, but again, getting back to the whole recognition thing, so it sounds like we could have a follow-on here, but before we go to the next question, go
The
ahead.
people in Xinjiang do not like being monitored in every aspect of their life, and they don't even deny.
Your own sources admit it's not true anymore.
Let him finish, you'll have the
You're
last word.
saying that my sources say that there have not been an extreme increase in the level of monitoring.
No,
in street
they're now
cameras.
claiming it's all done.
You're not even letting me. You didn't even let me talk. Jesus. Okay. So in Xinjiang, these are things that are undisputable fact, even according to the Chinese.
If it feels like I'm lacking in anything to say, it's mostly because, again, this is a flat Earth debate, and I feel like chiming in with something that's evident and obvious is kind of asinine, you know?
Government. When it comes to the monitoring of street cameras and the everyday life of Uyghurs, the Chinese government has heavily ramped up monitoring them. This has been claimed that this is needed to do for anti-terrorism measures. But that does not mean it's been accepted with open arms by the local population. Another thing is the banning of certain religious, I would say, religious activities.
He's out of frame.
Are you up to date on your sources? Because they're now saying all that's. They're now saying They're now saying they've eased up on Xinjiang.
They're not saying what I'm.
Yes,
look,
they have.
Now let me finish.
They said they've eased up surveillance. They've eased up the crackdown. But you're outdated.
I don't care.
You're a time
outdated.
waster. You're a time waster.
Wait, I'm outdated, yet you're just
Your sources are out of date.
Marxist-Leninist, and I'm outdated. That's very funny.
Oh, so Marxism-Leninism is much newer than Anglo-Saxon liberalism from the 16th century.
And what one?
Give me a
Okay,
fucking
yeah,
break.
we're getting
16th century liberalism. Okay.
off topic in there, so next question.
So my question is to Infrared here, and it seems like your entire moralistic worldview is based on might makes right and material conditions.
I'm a materialist. It's not about might makes right.
Okay, but you
keep
keep bringing up the fact that the reason that China has the sovereign authority that it does is because it has a monopoly on power. It's able to exert its control over people, et cetera, which is a might makes right argument. So if the material conditions are what basically says what exists and might makes right, then wouldn't it be in America's best interest to go imperialistic again and take over Taiwan in response to China, since that's what China is seeming to want to do?
There is a country that has tried this.
One second.
I understand the point of your
Well, I just want to make it sure for the rest of the
Okay,
audience.
go
All
ahead.
right. So
I have anticipated the end of your question. I have foreseen.
the like how China has been doing with other countries that border it, such as Tibet, such as Vietnam in the 60s or 70s rather, such as like Dylan brought up Myanmar or Burma. So that was
So Tibet has never bordered China. It's always been a part of China. Now, in regards to other border disputes, China has always settled these matters, not only in a way that's fair, but in a way that overwhelmingly benefits the countries it's negotiating with. China ceded like 80% of its territory in one of its borders with Afghanistan, for example, right? So when China gets to the books and say we have to settle this territorial dispute, China's very generous with negotiations and has proven so. Now, regarding Myanmar and Vietnam, there was a border dispute with Vietnam in the 70s, but that's what it was. It was a border dispute. It wasn't some kind of arbitrary imperialist encroachment. It was a dispute about territory that could not be solved diplomatically. Finally, as to the question of might makes right, you can say, why doesn't America just use its might to invade the entire world? There's a country that has tried the precedent of just simply, hey, if we can do it, let's do it. It was the Nazi Germans. They tried
From whom he now cites philosophy.
this in World War II. It was proven that this is not a path countries and states can take just to completely circumvene the customs and norms, which are a material reality as well, that are in place.
Wait, but this is, so what he's essentially saying here is that yes, might does make right, but like, it's not always strategically effective to just conquer a bunch of other countries. He would be in favor of it if it would work. So if America could just conquer the entire world effortlessly, and by the way, if America wanted to, well, first of all, we already kind of have. That's the point of neocolonialism, right? We don't need to fire bullets to win over the world. All we need to do is make sure most of the world stays desperately poor, and the only way they don't like go back to being completely poor is if they continue to sell their labor to Western business interests for pennies on the dollar. Like, that's essentially control, and that way we don't have to pay for an invasion. In fact, we make money off the whole process. It's a much, much more effective form of warfare, you know. What do they say? Like, diplomacy is warfare by other means. Yeah, I don't know. So is that all, like, fine? It's all an extension of our political interest, you know? And it's not like those countries have, like, real sovereignty, right? Like, if they're, like, there are, you know, it's not like we have total, absolute, uncontested power in these countries, like China doesn't in, say, for example, Thailand. But, you know, there are a bunch of countries out there in the developing world that if they did something we didn't like, it would be really, really bad for them economically, you know? That's the whole point of IMF policy suggestions, you know? You better make your shit in line with our business interests, because if you don't, you're more dependent on us than we are on you. We have other poor people we can get stuff from. You have only one American empire you can sell your labor to.
Because when you declare war against the entire world, you're going to have a world war, and you're going to have the world unite against you. So America can try this. It just wouldn't be very wise.
So just to follow up on that, I'm specifically talking about Taiwan here.
Yeah.
It
would not be good for America.
Within regards to Taiwan, the Taiwanese people seem to be, as Dylan is saying, against China taking back part of.
If America,
isn't it in America's interest, as well as the Taiwanese interest, to join forces to prevent?
Why is it
China?
in our interest?
Because of things like Dylan said, with the chip manufacturing, the territorial
there will
water
be no
disputes,
alteration to the chip
et cetera.
manufacturing under Chinese.
But we have examples with
China's already
Taiwan,
replicating
Tibet, et cetera.
Taiwan's chip industry at home anyway.
Well, but that gives more power to China. And I know that you
Wait,
like
wouldn't that justify
but we don't
having
like
it
that.
more? Because then we would want our own ability to take in chips from a separate country.
We already can do that. We don't need to invade Taiwan to do that.
50%.
You don't need to
50% of the world.
invade. If America wants to replicate the chips that Taiwan produces, it can do so in the same way that China
By
does.
trading and recognizing them as a sovereign nation.
No, because China doesn't do that, and yet it's able to make its own
So-
domestic chips. This is a dead-end argument.
Let me ask you about something, because you said that they always resolve these conflicts like fairly. Now, if you said most of the time, maybe it would have been easier, but the Scarborough Shoal was very self-evident, where they took their ships, they put
We're 4 minutes to the end. And I'm bored.
them on the you use as a justification.
Because it was, you don't understand the structure of pre-modern empires and
So
the United Kingdom after centuries and centuries.
Further information on the boxing match?
Very good. Yeah, I got super bored of debates like that. Debates where it feels like you're just talking to a wall are only fun if you get to, like, make fun of them, you know? The conversation that I had with the porn Nazi or whatever was pretty fun, but, like, only because I got to bully him. And also it was a novel subject, which I guess means I, like, you know, it was sort of an interesting broach. But yeah, apart from that, it always gets pretty boring. Very, very good. Yeah, trying to debate an ape or whatever. Good memes. Very good memes. Backhanding should be allowed in debate like that. Do you guys think Ha's ever been in a street fight? He keeps being like, dude, boxing isn't like a street fight. Has he been in a street fight? I don't know. I mean, maybe, but I don't know. I would actually put better money on Hinkle having been in a street fight than Haas. You know, I don't think it's likely for either of them, but my guess would be that it's more likely for Hinkle Jinkle. You know, that's just a feeling. Thumb War this Sunday, dude. Thumb War is a powerful test of strength and skill. Okay, don't besmirch it with your humor. All right, there's a valid and worthwhile, art of battle to it. My goodness. Well, anyway, this is primarily been lolcow farming, but with the way things are right now, especially with the way tensions are ramping up in Ukraine on behalf of Russia, the prominence and political relevance of tanky types and of people who defend other geopolitical blocks is probably going to skyrocket soon. You know, they go from sort of an amusing, idiotic subgroup in the political space to suddenly being like very relevant very quickly. Yeah, so we'll see how that goes. Yeah, the Ukraine stuff is definitely ramping up. Editors, you can just keep this in with the rest of it, you know. This is the thing that's got me shook the most at the moment. The State Department has pulled back some people at the US Embassy in Ukraine, ordering some family members to leave. That is that's not good. That's actually quite bad. Pulling people out of embassies is a time-honored, historically verified indication of potential future bad things, very bad things. Yeah, that's probably not good. Not trying to deny reality or anything here, but if Putin wanted to invade Ukraine, why would he posture so much about it? He didn't do it for Georgia. It's really difficult to say about stuff like this. The problem is, like, it's really, really difficult to say, okay? So Russia, or at least Putin, wants to establish basically like the new USSR. Obviously, it's not about communism because the USSR was never communist, which is why Putin transitioned so seamlessly from being an agent of the USSR to being like a capitalist oligarch with like no effort or ideological shift whatsoever. Now, the issue is, like, generally geopolitical stuff is conducted with the assumption that everybody is acting in their rational self-interest, you know? Which means that North Korea will posture, but, and I've said this before, like, North Korea will posture, oh, nuclear war this, nuclear war that, you know? But I feel like most of North Korea's real decision-making is probably controlled not by, you know, Kim Jong-un or whatever, but by the generals that sit at his cabinet, the people around him, who sort of cajole him towards the, you know, the least destructive behavior. You know what I mean? This historically is a model of organization that's been around for a while. You've older, more experienced people in a cabinet or as advisors who make sure things stay afloat, no matter what inbred fuckwit takes the throne. The issue with Putin is I think Putin actually does have like total control over Russia, basically. Like I don't think he's controlled very much by like several dozen oligarchs who pull him in different directions and sort of mitigate his ambitions. I feel like he might actually just be insanely power hungry and in control. And at that point, geopolitics, like psychology, plays more of a role than realpolitik does. And I guess we're just kind of gambling on whether or not Putin gives a fuck whether or not he might be starting World War III. Because there are plenty of people you can pick up off the street who, if given power, would not give a fuck if World War III started, you know? Like, that's a thing, right? Like, generally we hope people in charge of the button are sane enough that they would care. But there are people who don't care. And also, we know leaders tend not to be that sane. God, can you imagine if nuclear weapons were in the hands of the inbred European monarchs, you know? Oh my God. Like, we never would have had a industrialized world to build into, you know. We hope that the modern systems are better capable of managing, you know, these decision-making processes. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I have a feeling that the 100 Years' War might have led to a 1,000-year winter. Yeah, I don't know. Would have been bad. With regards to what's happening right now with Russia, like, I don't know if I think that Putin is just willing to posture to World War III. Yeah, the 102nd war. Yeah. I don't know if it's just like a posturing thing or if he's actually going to go for it, but yeah, I don't know. It's getting pretty bad. It's getting pretty bad, gotta say. I wish we had nuclear dearmament, you know? That'd be pretty cool right now. If it weren't for nukes and people could just like stuff would be so different, you know? I mean, people would die. A lot of people would die, but yeah, I don't know. I could be totally wrong, but Russia started advancing into Ukraine. Russia has been playing just the tip with Ukraine for months now, you know? Like, I don't know. It's difficult to know when any of the dick is in, but you know when all of it is in. We'll find out. We'll find out. We'll find out at like 2 a.m., you know? I'll be playing Final Fantasy 14. I'll be just about to like go to bed. When I'll check Twitter just to see if I have any DMs I need to clear, and I'll see like Ukraine trending on the right-hand side, 268,000 tweets, and I'll go like, oh, well, better text my family. Cool. Hear the nuclear rumble of hellfire closing in on you. Yeah, good time to move to Arkansas, that's for sure. Wyoming, we made a lot of fun of Wyoming here, okay? But Wyoming's going to be sitting real pretty, what with them having absolutely no worthwhile strategic targets, you know, to my knowledge. Yeah. They're going to be real smug after that, you know, all the, like, mutants. Are we really going to go to war for Ukraine? I know it's bad, but is it worth it? Do you, what's the alternative, right? You just let Ukraine get rolled over? Okay, what if they want to move further west? Yeah. Like you can't, the appeasement thing doesn't work. Like, I've said this before, and I look forward to being clipped by Twitter again, but like, if Putin or Russian oligarchs are really in a position to invade Ukraine, we're talking about least bad situations here, and the least bad situation would be like James Bond fucking rappelling into the Kremlin and just like taking out all of them. Like that's the least bad situation. If we're legitimately dealing with a person posturing like nuclear warfare, like that would be the best situation would literally just be like a coup, you know? That would be the best thing you could hope for. There probably are factions within Russia, oligarchs who realize that like war with Ukraine could legitimately lead to World War III, who might like try something like that, but I feel like Putin's smart enough that he would protect himself against the possibility of a coup or assassination. Yeah, I don't know. Really weird. I guess the question is, do you think World War III would really be fought with nukes or would it be fought with men? If there's ever direct fighting between US troops or NATO troops and Russian soldiers, like that's gonna be nuclear warfare. There's like no other way, right? Yeah. Apparently State Department is afraid Russia could invade at any moment. They might just think we might not do it. And we might not do it. It's possible. State Department official in explaining ordered departure for Kiev embassy facilities, or families, sorry, embassy families, said the decision was based on the conclusion that Russia can invade at any time, but notes that USG is still not sure that Russia will invade. I guess technically that they could invade at any time is sort of a always realized possibility. Officials said State Department is advising U.S. citizens in Ukraine to depart now and saying USG will have limited/no ability to assist them in departing should Russia invade. If we're saying we'll have no ability to assist them in departing should they invade, that's kind of an indication that we wouldn't be willing to commit troops there, right? Would NATO show in? I don't know. Officials declined to provide any estimate of the number of Americans in Ukraine. Damn, man. Never mind, editors, make this its own segment. It's too important. Been putting off talking about this. Mostly because I feel like there's a limit to how much spice I can add to, oh cool, the world might end soon, but probably worthwhile that when the lights start flashing, we know why it's happening. Reuters reported, the New York Times reported that Biden was considering deploying thousands of U.S. troops to the Ukraine. Well, where's the official statement? If they're reporting on it, it had to have come from some kind of press statement, right? Is there a video? State Department orders thousands of... All the news sites are talking about this. Do you think widespread economic sanctions? Thank you. Do you think widespread economic sanctions in Russia would be effective at this point in time? At this point, no. We're like, it's way too late for that. This is one of the few cases where I'm actually like very much in favor of sanctions because like economic like oblivion for Russia might have. I don't know what. I'm not entirely sure. I don't know exactly. Sanctions are certainly better than war. Yeah, that's for sure. Biden ways deploying thousands of troops to Eastern Europe and Baltics. When was this from? January 23rd? Yep, this is from today. Hate it when we're looking at bad news, and I check the time, and it's from like 2 seconds ago. Vosh, bad take. The sanctions do nothing but hurt the working class. Have you considered the possibility that global nuclear warfare might hurt the working class? Any measure which could be taken to disarm or disempower Russia at this point would be a good one. It's possible that sanctions would just antagonize the working class and make them like fall more in line, but several thousand U.S. troops, as well as warships and aircraft, and NATO allies in the Baltics and Eastern Europe, and expansion of military involvement. Mounting fears. Why do they say Baltics and Eastern Europe? Does that mean like not Ukraine? Do they just mean like next to Ukraine? Like we would just give up Ukraine and just like post ourselves at the border? You know? The move would signal a major pivot for the Biden administration. Fuck. I wonder if the best option here is just to let Putin take Ukraine, suffer like global sanctions, and then like Putin dies of a heart attack or something. Would that be the best option? Is it not appeasement, but like the sacrificial lamb? Defending Ukraine doesn't do anything if it leads to like global nuclear warfare. Eventually, Putin will die. It seems to happen to most people. Yeah, I don't know. Fuck. That's not strategy. No, it is appeasement vibes, right? But keep in mind, like we're not... Guys, keep in mind, our goal here is not... It sounds like appeasement. No, the point of appeasement is that you just let them have the territory and hope they don't make additional moves. The point with what I'm saying is that you give Putin more time to run out of steam. If the economy in Russia doesn't improve, if the middle class remains like, you know, disengaged, if there's more like global like intel pushback against like the geopolitical narrative of the Russians, they might just peter out and be unable to do any more. Appeasement is the idea that they'll stop. Putin won't stop, but you can never count on evil people to die at a convenient time. Yeah, not unless you help them along. Taking that would only strengthen his position in Russia, yeah. Are there any economic sanctions that can stop him? Not at this point. There's no economic sanctions you could levy that would like stop the troops at the border of Ukraine, right? I mean, they're right there. If it's just like 5,000 troops though at the edge, I don't know. It's not a matter of principle, it's just a matter of what prevents nuclear war. Putin's health is starting to deteriorate. Oh yeah, I'm sure. I mean, he's getting up there, right? What is he, like 65 or something? I mean, I don't know. Being an oligarch or being an autocrat for like 30 years will do that to you. What is he? 69? Nice. Well, yeah, he's only 10 years younger than Joe Biden. He'll probably live to be 115. That's how these things go. Would sanctions, along with working with OPEC nations to pump the market with oil, lowering oil prices, Russia's econ lifeline, be a good alternative? There's no fucking way OPEC would ever agree to lower the prices of oil just to fuck over the Russian economy. I don't think they care that much. I would be incredibly surprised. They would basically be saying like, yeah, we'll all tank all of our own economies just to like help win your geopolitical interests over them, you know? Well, yeah, OPEC excluding Russia. Yeah, the rest of them. Bosch saying it again, but since Ukraine isn't NATO, we can't really put troops in there without giving casus belli. What do you mean casus belli? When you're dealing with warfare, the rules don't matter like that much, right? I mean, like if they're invading, cause for war, reason for war, that that doesn't. I don't think it matters that much. Oh, is this a civilization player thing? Don't be a fucking nerd, Jesus. quickly consulting my favorite 4X game to see what's going to happen in Ukraine. Is there no way to, I don't know, shoot down nukes or something to stop them from hitting the ground? Not really. There have been proposed systems for like stopping some, like, so Israel has the Iron Dome, but the Iron Dome is meant to take down bottle rockets shot from like balloons with like a basket tied to them, okay? The Iron Dome doesn't get all of them either. It gets some of them. The problem with nukes is that there are thousands of them and you need to get all of them. You also can't shoot them down near the ground because they're nukes, you know? They need to be completely 100% neutralized with no chance of exploding, and it has to work 100% of the time. And we don't have anything like that. And each nuke has multiple warheads now. God. Oh man, we're so smart. I love that. I love that. We're so smart. Just put 8 nukes in every nuke so that they're impossible to stop. That's so good. Thank you. Love that for us. No, not all nukes are going to be MIRVed, but at least some of them are. Can we just have a war but promise not to use nukes? How nice that would be. I'm going to bed, but I'm going to look at this pretty formatted opinion. This is Taiwanese stuff. I will look at it, but right now we're hardcore dooming over the end of the world. At the moment, damn. I mean, the point that we're at right now is that like we could get like the alarm like any moment, right? The Russian troops have like fully moved in. Alarm them out. You know what I fucking mean. Alarm? Like the info, the alarm, not literally an alarm. Jesus. The information, the alert. Wait, not. Yeah, the Amber Alert. I could honestly see a non-nuke war just to perpetuate war profiteering. I don't think. Nah, no, I don't think so. The returns on that just aren't good. If you want a war profiteer, like you don't need a war for that. The US doesn't need a war to war profiteer, right? If you have no war going on, you can still, all you have to do as like arms manufacturers is have one factory placed in every state. So every senator is like, oh, well, if we don't fund this latest like military project, then we're taking jobs out of the hands of my constituents who will vote me back in. And then you continue raising the budget for the Pentagon like every single year, you know? Nuclear war is bad for business, and nuclear war being like up on the table is bad for business too. So what can we do, Vosh? Nothing. What can we do? What is that, a joke? China doesn't want World War III. What are they going to do about this? I don't know. What is China's... What is China's modus operandi here? I mean, they don't want nuclear war. China will aid Russia. China might aid Russia, or at least refuse to condemn them, because if they didn't... because the thing that they want is to prevent nuclear war, and them supporting Russia decreases the likelihood of strong resistance from us, and that's what increases the likelihood of nuclear war. So I feel like their goal would be to prevent serious pushback to Russia, and maybe the best way they could do that would be by supporting Russia. That would just be a guess of mine. It would be posturing. It'd be like, okay, well, China supported them. Do we really want to fuck with that, you know? And that might not even be ideological. That might just be a way of preventing the nuclear war. I don't know. If somebody uses nukes, they're basically admitting defeat, right? So we might see a war where neither side tries to win. It's the end of the world, not a league game. I don't think the ego... I think if they nuke, they nuke. I don't think they're going to be like, well, we can't nuke because it'll make us look bad. I feel like if you're firing the ICBMs, you've sort of... the ship has sailed on looking bad internationally. You know? I must be die for NATO. Shu, can you get on stream? Shu, does it not bother you that Russia is like just invading a sovereign nation? Like, Shu, you're taking the pro-war stance here. You realize that, right? Like, I understand the US State Department trying to rope people into conflict is like a historically bad thing, but in this case, Russia's the unambiguous aggressor. And like, threatening nuclear war. I mean, what, like, so if Russia wants, like, what else, what if they want other countries? What if they want Poland? Like, how much, did they just go forever? I mean, and it's like always like cringe to stop that because it's the State Department. No, I mean, if you fire nukes, you're going to die, so I don't see people using them unless they're in a corner. Yeah, the problem with nuclear weapons is that at this point, like, the whole... I'm pretty sure, like, the mutually assured destruction thing was, like, the end point of that development, right? Like, it never moved past that. No, neither side ever developed a system that could defend themselves against a nuclear onslaught, and neither side found a way of doing a first strike without incurring retaliation. So, any nuclear weapons being used by anyone automatically, like, I don't think tech ever, unless there's some secret technology they have that we never learned about, which I doubt. Just, I doubt that, you know? Mad Doctrine relies on a number of assumptions to actually prevent nuclear war. Vosh, look it up. There's a bullet list on Wikipedia, if I recall correctly. Yeah. Yeah, but that's good, Vosh. It would mean it takes a madman to use them. Well, sure, but don't madmen exist? Right? Vosh, the Ruskies in China have hypersonic missiles that can take out our systems of command because the missiles cannot be detected by radar, so yeah, we're fucked if things go wrong. Yeah, that's another thing. Aren't there... Well, I don't know if they can be detected by radar. We probably have systems of knowing when stuff like that has happened. We have pretty advanced satellite imaging. I'm not entirely sure how fast we could relay that info, but like, we definitely couldn't shoot them down. They're way the fuck too fast to shoot down. Well, that wouldn't matter, I guess. Hmm. Do you think China will make a move against Taiwan if Russia moves on Ukraine? I don't know. One big thing at a time, right? Yeah, Demon Mama, for sure. So wait, is an invasion of Ukraine imminent now then? It feels more likely than not, right? I'd definitely say it's beyond 50-50. I heard there was an attempted coup of Ukraine. Yeah, wasn't it some Russia-backed shit? What is this? Britain says Moscow is plotting to install a pro-Russian leader in Ukraine. Why is Britain saying this, as opposed to Ukraine? The Foreign Office has said it had exposed evidence of a plot to install a pro-Moscow government in Ukraine, and Boris Johnson promised to ramp up pressure on Russia as his own domestic political troubles deepen. We'll get around to that when we get around to it. Taiwan reports new large-scale Chinese Air Force incursion. It's from today. God damn it. A lot of stuff going on. Let me see. Oh yeah, this is the person who posted the original thread. A month ago in the site, I predicted that Putin is likely to invade Ukraine this winter. Since then, the White House, among others, have come out with similar assessments. Let's talk now about how such invasion might unfold and what its primary goals might be. First, Russia is going to need casus belli. Oh, another 4X player. For attack. The most likely scenario is Putin will create pretext for war by manufacturing Ukrainian attack on Russia. That's a pretty common strategy, so yeah. His other option is to try to provoke the Ukrainians into reckless action, but that is less likely given how cautious and watchful they are for this scenario. Oh, this is a good one. When this happens, keep an eye out for people like Infrared and the Gray Zone types for saying that Ukraine has attacked Russia. There is no reason whatsoever for Ukraine to attack Russia. It is a suicide attack. Ukraine does not want war. They desperately don't want war because they can't win a war. They have no reason to, and under any circumstances, attack Russia. But I guarantee you that something will happen to Russian troops or a Russian base, and Russia will start screaming about it and say they need to engage in defensive retaliatory action. And then the Gray Zone types will be like, oh, U.S. Western media won't cover the fact that U.S.-backed Ukrainian troops. I guarantee it's going to happen, 100%. Yeah, Russia could just to start disguising their troops as like Ukraine types. Yeah, they can do anything. They can do whatever they want. They don't need like a good excuse. They just need like any lie they can center their national myth around. In 1999, there were a series of apartment bombings across Russia blamed on Chechens, which kicked off the Second Chechen War. To this day, there is significant suspicion about who was truly behind it, in part because FSB was found placing explosives in a building as an exercise. In 1939, Soviet border village of Manila was shelled with artillery, which Stalin immediately blamed on Finland and used as an excuse to start the Winter War, not unlike Hitler a few months earlier, staging an attack on the Gleiwitz as a pretext for an attack on Poland. This is very common. Like how Bush faked 9/11 to go to war in Iraq. Khrushchev later admitted in his memoirs that the shellings, which killed 4 Soviet border guards, were orchestrated by the Soviet army. Oh, well, there you go. A pretext like this, perhaps another shelling of a Russian border village, while not original, will be sufficient to launch an invasion. The invasion will start with a fires, campaign missiles, multiple launch rocket systems, howitzers, self-propelled gun mortars, and fixed-wing airstrikes against UKR air defenses, air bases, entrenched defensive positions, mobilization, and command and control structures. The goal would be to quickly establish air dominance over the skies of Ukraine, impede mobilizations, and take down major communication nodes used by the Ukrainians. The problem is NATO are provoking Russia by having Ukraine join. Russia doesn't get to make that choice for Ukraine. Russia is not Ukraine's dad. If Ukraine wants to be part of NATO, that's Ukraine's right. You can't. That's like what kind of logic is that? That's like saying like Poland provoked Hitler by not like allowing itself to be annexed. Like that's not their right, you know. Well, it'd be to quickly establish air dominance. With the enormous capabilities of Russia's long-range fires, they can bring down absolute hell in those targets. The Ukrainians, lacking short and intermediate-range air defenses, won't be able to do much in response. Russia also has some of the best electronic warfare systems in the world. They will be used to blind Ukrainian air defense in the initial hours before they are destroyed with fires. Expect to see extensive use of the new Orion UAVs as well. Russians may also target TV and radio transmitters, internet exchanges, as well as use wiper malware against media and government websites to make it harder for the UKR population to receive information. Bosch, NATO literally exists to contain and weaken Russia. Obviously, Russia... Well, apparently, it didn't contain and weaken Russia enough. Wait, you can't... Listen, cucks. You can't... Ukraine is provoking this when Ukraine is terrified of Russia, and Russia is justifying that terror by being on the brink of invading Ukraine. Like, you're blaming Ukraine for one... Like, yes, NATO is designed to oppose Russia, and Russia has, in the past, invaded Ukraine with no pretext or justification. Like, why would Ukraine not want the support of NATO? Why would that not... Like, obviously. Yeah, what was Ukraine wearing at the time? Like, yeah, no shit. Jesus. Did this shit too with Crimea? Yeah, they did. What I'm saying is that the fault of this is on the US and its actions against Russia, not that it's Ukraine's fault. It's Russia's fault. They're the ones invading. How can you... Russia has initiated every level of actual aggression here. How can you... No, never mind. I can't. my interest in engaging with the Russian nationalists or whatever else, or whatever lefties think that like leftism is when you defend capitalist oligarchs invading other countries. Likely to launch psyops in cyberspace, so confusion and despair. Oh, by the way, guys, because information is difficult to acquire during war, I'm afraid we're going to have to adopt some dogmatism. If Russia invades Ukraine, everything Russia says is a lie, everything they do is wrong, anything Ukraine says is right and good. That's all you have to believe, okay? It's impossible to achieve perfect information in a war scenario, so in this case, we are ends-oriented, which means we'll support anything which opposes Russian imperialist aggression against Ukraine. No matter how many news stories you hear of this, that, or the other, the information that you need to take away from situations where information access is being deliberately clouded is to support the good guys and fight the bad guys. And when more information becomes more apparent, you can work out the details later. I get that info isn't reliable, but that sounds like a bad idea. Dogma is always bad. In the absence of any reliable information, the alternative to an ideological preconception is neutrality. Neutrality is an unacceptable position to hold in situations such as these. When Russia is darkening info in Ukraine, like preventing, people from seeing what's going on there, and then, as they will, deliberately releasing propaganda, paying state actors to lie in their favor, as they have before with Syria and in plenty of other instances. In situations like that, it's essentially impossible to verify any information coming out of there, and it's unacceptable to do the traditional thing that one would do in this situation, which is to reserve judgment until the facts settle. See, you don't get to do that sometimes. In active warfare situations, that is not a position you can hold. It's just not. It's not an effective one. It doesn't lead to good outcomes. It must be pragmatic. And the pragmatic position here is the anti-Russian position. You sound retarded right about now. Most coherent Russian defender. I think we can make a case against Russia without relying on dogmatism. I don't think you entirely understand what I'm saying, so I'll say it one more time just to make sure we're perfectly clear, okay? Russia is quite possibly the most effective and advanced advocate for its own state interests of any country on the planet relative to its size and political power. They have made exceptionally effective use of disinfo campaigns in the past. They are more committed to it and more competent at executing it than any other country in existence right now. If there is genuinely a threat of war between the United States and Russia, there will be a near infinite bombard of bullshit that we are going to have to deal with in terms of responding to bad information. What I am saying is that the dogmatic position, Russia bad, Ukraine good, is what will lead to the most effective and high utility outcomes that you could see in a situation such as that. Because normally what you do when information is sparse is you wait for more information to arrive, or for people with degrees of expertise to parse out the information that already exists. But in this case, we're talking about active warfare, which means that that's not always reliable. And the issue that I have is that the Russian state agents, gray zone types, whatever, are going to be coming out with the lies like that. It's going to be like this. They're going to have full narratives. They're going to have evidence. They're going to have videos which come from Russian sources. They're going to have like info backed up by state agents. They're going to have stuff verified and wrapped. And what are we going to have? Well, Ukraine is going to have most of its info cut, and we're not going to have a sophisticated disinfo apparatus within Ukraine to counter this misinformation. Most of the stuff we're never going to be able to see direct evidence of, for, or against. And that means that sometimes you have to take a default position. I don't agree with the word dogma here at all. Let's take a look at the definition of dogma and make sure that my use of it is in alignment with what I'm describing. A principle or set of principles laid down by an authority is incontrovertibly true. All right, I'll adjust. The only dogma here comes from me because everything I say is incontrovertibly true, and I'm an authority figure because I'm a YouTuber. What I'm really advocating for here is a biased position by default. That normally an unbiased position is better because you base your positions off the facts available. But when you cannot acquire the facts available, when it takes too long, there's too much disinformation, the best thing that you can do is hold to a bias, choosing a side. And we should proceed with that bias. If you want to call that, you know, like propaganda or like whatever, you know, I asked this, if Russia was sincere and truthful about their intentions, why have they A, lied about everything they've ever done? Curious. And B, why would they, as they will, engage in a info blackout campaign? Historically, that is something people do when they don't want people looking in, right? I mean, Ukraine will want to get as much info out as possible, highlight war crimes, show what's being done, show the military superiority of Russia. Russia will want to black out as much information going out as possible, because they're doing bad stuff. The agreement for the Soviet Union to fall was no east expansion of NATO. Who cares? I don't care. You don't get to invade countries because the countries that you're already invading want to be defended by the organizations you don't like. I don't care. I think people assume they're immune to information warfare. Nobody is. But it creates less security. Being invaded creates less security. Hey, oh my God! Like, it's literally like they can't fathom. Listen, Ukraine wants NATO to defend them. This isn't like the U.S. like doing fucking OPSEC work, like psyoping the NATO onto Ukraine. Ukraine wants NATO because Russia can't stop invading shit. They can't stop because they're bad. Yes, Russia does have some of the best cyber warfare units in the whole world. Oh man, guys. Would you support censoring gray zone / Jimmy Dore types if war breaks out with Russia and they peddle the Russian state line? Whatever I've said about like silencing COVID, like deniers before, I want you to imagine what my positions are on people who are facilitating a geopolitical line that is bringing us to nuclear war. Listen, deplatforming is the kindest response those people deserve. It is an unimaginable, infinitely gracious kindness that they frankly don't deserve. That might be the limit of the retribution people could face for promoting geopolitical interests which bring us closer to nuclear war. That is completely sincere. Yes, deplatforming, except the platform is a fucking trapdoor above a stool in a video game. Anyway. Do you think Biden will do a poor job in this conflict? When is Biden ever cool? Anyway. Fire campaign is likely to be followed by a ground invasion designed to encircle and destroy Ukrainian units to the east of the Dnieper River. The Dnieper? Dnieper? What's this? This person did Ex Luminous Sun. This person's blocked me. What is this? Russians marching? World War I was printed on newspapers. World War II was on radio. Vietnam War was televised. World War III will be live streamed on TikTok. Oh yeah, apparently Russian soldiers have been pushing a bunch of pro-Russian propaganda on TikTok. And it's a TikTok video of a bunch of Russian soldiers marching in the snow. To where? Who knows? Somebody probably knows. With the forces Russia's positioning, they'll be able to launch a ground attack from 4 directions. In addition, we might see airborne air assaults unit parachuting in to take strategic locations behind UKR lines. And naval landing ships deployed in the Black Sea and Sea Azov conduct landings near Mariupol. Perhaps later. The goal of the simultaneous assault, supported by long-range fires and close air support, would be to eliminate organized Ukrainian defensive units or push them to the west bank of the If it's actually pronounced diaper, I'm not saying it. While all this is taking place, GRU Spetsnaz operatives are likely already deployed in eastern Ukraine and will attempt to organize uprisings in major eastern cities with previously identified and armed collaborators, potentially with aid from the VDV. The goal would be to take control of the eastern cities from within before the major Russian units arrive to enforce order and help eliminate any resistance. The Russians are highly likely to stop at the eastern bank of the Dnieper River and not attempt to cross it so as to avoid what would be a very tough fight in western Ukraine. However, how far in is the river? Hold on. How wide is the river? 1 second. How much of a... Is this it? Is it this massive one? The one that has a bunch of lakes through it? Which one is it? Here. Yes, it is. That's massive. That's not even a river, really. It's like a series of long lakes. That would be a massive obstacle to get through. I had no idea. I don't even know. Would you have to bring... You would have to find crossings, sure, but those could be defended from the west. You would have to, like, seize barges? How... You would have to go to the crossings, right? Kiev is... Wait, Kiev's at the crossing. Could they take Kiev? That's the capital, right? They couldn't take the capital. Not quickly, at least. That would be like a hell of a fight. That would take a siege. They could take it, sure, but it would take a while. They wouldn't be able to, like, rope around. I mean, some of these cities are at the edge of the river, right? This one's right at the border. Guys, do you know, is Kiev on the river, or is it on the west or the east side? Is it built to one side of the river? It's on both sides. It's on the river. Okay, okay. Fuck, that would be... It's like it runs through the city. Okay, so it's like a thinner point here, and then that makes sense. Google Maps lol. If they say it runs through the city, it runs through the city. What will Belarus do? What is Belarus's relationship with Russia? Puppet state? Right, Lukashenko, that's right. Fuck. Do you think Russia would just let... Do you think Russia would just let them move troops through Belarus? It's allowing Russian troops to move through Belarus? Okay, yeah, it's already happening. It's already happening. Thank you. Thank you. Very good. That's cool. Well, then they wouldn't even need to deal with the river, right? They could just... Well, they still need to take eastern Ukraine. How much of a... What does Poland's military look like? The only country I see here that I know wouldn't just roll over would be Poland. Like, Poland wouldn't just roll over for Russia, right? Poland's right-wing government is amping up its military, hopefully for the right side. Pretty close, backwards Bible. Poland and Ukraine are currently having a border dispute that is stopping or hindering railway action. Well, that's probably not good. Poland is part of NATO. Yeah, they could be part of NATO, but even if they're part of NATO, like, the sentiments of people in Poland might prevent action domestically, I think. What is this? What is this link? What? Don't link me things. Shut up. Lebensraum. Jazz dog. Moldova is on somewhat friendly terms with Russia. Yeah, I know that. What about Romania? Isn't Poland's government fascist? Yeah, but you know, you can be pro-America fascist or you can be pro-Russia fascist. NATO? Okay, I know they're in NATO. I'm talking about like the national sentiment towards Russia. It's not enough to be in NATO. Your population has to be appropriately ideologically aligned. Poles hate Russia, Lamau. There's so much here that I don't know. I guess it doesn't really matter, right? My understanding of this issue is absolutely meaningless to the central moral question as to whether or not this war is justified. This isn't something where further understanding will give me any additional utility. I hate Russia, but they should let the LPR and the DPR be autonomous, not a part of Russia, to create another two countries between Russia and Ukraine border that would alleviate the politic pressure. The problem is Russia is the one creating the politic pressure. It's not like Ukraine is sending like fucking you know, special agent squads into like the, you know, 200 miles deep into Russia to start like you know, stirring up nativist sentiment so they can annex part of Russia. Like Russia is doing this. They're choosing to do this. Russia won't abide border states because they don't want border states. They want the empire. Doomsday clock is 100 seconds to midnight? Yes. Sometimes it's that simple, Brightsy. Sometimes you just get riled up. Have a gamer moment. Polish PM calls for united European stance on the Ukraine. Polish Prime Minister on Friday called European leaders take a tough united stance amid fears. Okay, so Poland's Prime Minister. Okay. Poland has said Kiev can count on its support in the event of a Russian attack. I don't understand what the point of being a world power is if we can't just, like, murk Putin. Can somebody explain that to me? I genuinely don't understand what the point is. What is the point of having the largest military in the world, by far, if we can't, like, delete, like, global threats like this? There is no point. There was never any point. They have a big one, too. Shouldn't we have a better spy network? I never hear about us. The Russian intelligence agencies do a bunch of shit, and we're like, oh, that's bad. But then, like, what does the American intel shit do? The FBI, like, was losing an optics war against fucking Trump, of all people, and the CIA recently had a bunch of fucking op details leaked, and a bunch of their informants in China and Iran and stuff were killed. If you don't hear about it, that means it's working. If this conflict goes through, they're not doing their fucking job. Is assassinating a president considered an act of war? I think it's the alternative to a war, right? Here's the secret to declaring war, okay? If you assassinate their president, there's no one left to declare war. If another guy's like, oh, well, then I'll declare war, like, you kill them too. And you keep doing that until eventually, like, nobody is left who can declare war, and then you're fine. The CIA starts wars, they don't prevent them. Yeah, it's fucking hilarious, dude. The CIA is such a dogshit organization. They spent like a century developing some of the most sophisticated apparatuses for like cooing democratically elected leftist leaders or whatever, and like making the world a generally worse place. And they got so good at that that they forgot how to do the one good thing that intel agencies are supposed to do. The single thing they are supposed to be good at, which is warfare by other means. That's the one fucking thing intel agencies are supposed to do. They are supposed to promote the interests of a country without needing to rely on all-out warfare. That's the one thing. That's the single thing. But here, we're not Just lost the CIA, yeah. All-out warfare makes money. Nuclear warfare will not make $1 for anyone. In fact, everyone will lose dollars because they'll all be incinerated in hellfire. Oh, I'm sure, Flashy John, yeah. Fucking wild, man. Tell your handler to get his shit together? Yeah, seriously. I don't really think nuclear warfare will happen. Look at India, Pakistan, both nuclear-armed nations at war, no nukes. Yeah, but nothing like this has happened. Like, this is way, like, this is, I think, like an order of magnitude above that. There's no way for assassination to prevent war in this case. Well, well, we don't know. Like, do we even know that much about, like, the internal logistic? Like, how much do we know about the internal political motivators? I feel like Russia's an autocracy to the point that, like, a lot of it is just caught up in the personal psychoses of the people in charge. Sure, but assassinating Putin would achieve nothing. The best you can hope for is his successor is less smart, and the worst you can hope for is his successor is more insane. Yeah, but, like, nobody benefits from a nuclear war. The only people who would be willing to cause a nuclear war are people who don't care about one. But there are people like that. Vosh, the U.S. promised not for NATO not to move past West Germany. Russia doesn't want hostile troops on its doorstep. It would be a bad idea to invade. I'd agree. It'd be a terrible idea for Russia to invade. Mods, you have my permission to ban anyone engaging in Russian apologia. First of all, people in chat are saying that's a lie. Second of all, I don't fucking care. I don't care. You don't get to posture global nuclear annihilation because you're mad that the country that you keep menacing wants, like, backup, okay? You can ban all these people. I don't care. They're subhuman. They're literally not worth consideration. I hope that they're murdered in their sleep by their fucking pets. I don't know if you guys understand, like, the escalating threat levels of different political beliefs, but, like, I need you guys to understand this, okay? Wherever transphobia is, in terms of how much harm the world causes, like, you cause to the world through your belief system, transphobia, racism, sexism, homophobia, whatever else, if compared on a line graph to defending Russia posturing World War III, would not be visible. It would. I don't think anything else would be visible. Even climate change is dwarfed. Nothing even comes close to nuclear war. Nothing else even comes close. Climate change takes a long time, and there are ways to course correct. Even if we don't, there are ways to. If a nuclear war happens, that's nuclear war. It's that. That's it. That's it. Nothing else even comes close. I have absolutely no interest in legitimizing. Wouldn't it be a good idea to invest in more guns? Lol. Nothing that's going to happen is going to have anything to do with guns. At least not over here. Shooting down the ICBM. Yeah, that's a goddamn battalion. That train goes on for a while. Yeah, go for it, Inkle Blue. I don't care. Fuck. Does Russia still use different train gauges? No, their train gauges would be the same as in Ukraine, right? Because they built them in the Soviet era. So Ukraine would share Russia's fucking train gauges. They could just roll in. The tracks? Yeah. I think it was towards the early years of the Soviet Union when they started industrializing. They built all of their train tracks to a different gauge, meaning that the rails are, I think, a little bit nearer than they are in like basically the rest of the world. And the reason they did this was because they were worried about being invaded. They wanted to make it so that like trains from wider, not narrower. They wanted to make it so that trains from the rest of the world wouldn't work on their tracks. That equipment wouldn't work. But Ukraine, because that was part of the Soviet Union, uses their same gauges, meaning that Russian trains would be able to just roll in because it's part of the same former empire. That's a non-point. You could easily put the vehicles down adjustment, I think. But saying like this, like they can literally just go in, right? I don't know how relevant that is to modern warfare, but I mean, trains are still the most effective way of transporting huge amounts of munitions on land, I think. Sorry guys, the Russian state didn't get me. I was just, there we go. They might have changed them. I doubt it. They're already functioning anti-ICBM missiles, by the way. They would have to work against every nuke, right? I don't know about you guys, but I live near a major city, okay? I'm not going to be like the 400th nuke to drop, you know? Train tracks are extremely vulnerable to airstrikes. Yeah, but will the Ukraine be able to establish any kind of air control? Probably not. There's like no way, right? Russia has way more of a... Did I say the Ukraine? I think my position on this matter should be fairly straightforward. All right, somebody... Hold on. Somebody says this is a Hopium Reddit comment. This is from 3 days ago. Which means that it's kind of out of date. But apparently Redditors liked it. And as we all know, Reddit is a bastion of good info on ongoing events, you know. How likely is it that Russia actually invades Ukraine? If Russia isn't planning to invade, their efforts have backfired spectacularly. Ukraine has been begging the US and UK for latest gen anti-tank missiles, the famous Javelin. These are infantry weapons that can reliably defeat any tank Russia has. Ukraine has been facing off against Russian tanks in the Donbas conflict and has suffered terribly. These weapons go a long way towards evening the odds here. The US and UK have until now... Wait, isn't this saying that they are likely to invade? This is essentially saying that, like, Russia's efforts have been wasted unless they invade. Yeah, I think this is just an increased likelihood of them invading. If Russia weren't actually planning to invade, this could be the biggest fuck-up by Russia since Operation Barbarossa. The UK in the last few days has transported 1,500 plus NLAWs and counting to Ukraine. Between bouts of intense sweating and nausea at the prospect of all-out war with Russia, Ukrainian leaders must be at least able to enjoy the occasional wry smile at that. Okay, we can't narrativize this too much. This makes it very... Yeah. Any Russian invasion will now take devastating casualties to their vehicles, as a lone Ukrainian infantryman crawling through a bombed-out building only has to get within 600 meters of a Russian tank to blow it to smithereens. Nah, this ain't true. Nah, I'm sorry. I don't believe this at all. Like 0%. Not a chance. Russian victory in Ukraine will not come from its fucking tank battalions. It comes from air support. It comes from air support and internal sabotage. This is some battlefield shit. This is like, well, Ukraine would simply do a backflip out of their Harrier jet and fire the Stinger missile at the tank and then get in when the backflip completes. Yeah. Continue reading what's more. It does make it expensive and difficult for Russia to control the territory. Yeah, but I'm not concerned about them controlling the territory. Russia's going to fall eventually. Its country is shit, okay? I'm worried about nuclear war. If Russia invades and, like, things turn into a prolonged, like, drawn-out stalemate, that doesn't even fix the nuclear war problem. It just... Why these missiles are so important. Ukraine has plenty of artillery pieces. Expect them to be destroyed by Russian aircraft. The opening. 200,000 plus infantry, plus 1 million or so reservists. Until recently. It's difficult to see what Russia expects to achieve. It has no intention of invading. This is why I think it's likely going to be a real invasion. Oh, okay. Or at least it was before the UK floored everyone with their response and put the screws on Russia. You don't throw away so much, gift your rival so much if it isn't real. Kickstarts World War III. Nah, nobody wants that. Russia would get its teeth kicked in by NATO and they know it. No, but wait, we would never they would never fight NATO. It would just be nukes. This is what I don't understand. Like, you have to assume Putin cares enough. Like, if, yeah, in any conventional war, US and US allies would win anywhere. Well, never mind. We lost in Vietnam and Afghanistan. Defending our home turf. Don't worry about that, okay? Hey, listen, the USSR also lost in Afghanistan, okay? Everyone loses in Afghanistan. Like, what if they just nuke? What if they just nuke? I don't believe this. If Russia is smart, they'll back down. On paper, Russia's armed forces are much stronger, but their troops are pure trash. Low morale, bitter, poorly equipped conscripts who will desert in droves at the prospect of an offensive war. This feels like narrative manufacturing. Like, this feels like a person who plays a lot of Hearts of Iron 4, like fucking Reddit expert. Yeah, I don't believe this. It's kind of true considering the Chechen war. I feel like maybe it's just too simplistic. I don't know. War is unpredictable, but the loyalty and professionalism of the average Russian soldier is more unpredictable than the determination of proud, free people defending their homeland. You can tell this is a liked Reddit comment because it sounds like the opening to a fucking Fallout game. Like, yeah, I don't know. To be fair, Vosh, you're going overboard with the nuke talk. We would just fire back. Yes, we would fire back. It wouldn't just be the end of us. I think you severely overestimate any country's willingness to use nukes. You realize that during the Cold War, there were multiple instances where people were ordered to fire them. And the only reason they didn't is because of a moral crisis on the part of the, like, regular rank and file people who didn't. Yes, Vosh, but they didn't. Oh, well, pardon me. Jesus Christ. Somebody's firing a gun at you and it fucking whizzes past your ear and you're like, I have nothing to fear. Oh, well, they did. Oh, well, thank you. You're right. That didn't happen. Therefore, it's impossible that it might ever happen. Christ. Jesus, go read those stories, man. They were ordered to fire the nukes. It would have been the end of the world. They didn't. They counteracted the orders of their superiors. They looked closer. They worked. Is that going to happen every time? I love gambling the species on. Yeah, and it only takes one missile to be fired too. You can't take that shit away. One missile gets fired, either side. The rest will retaliate, and then the person who fired the initial missile will just commit the rest of it. You know. You guys idiots on purpose to make Vosh mad? Yeah. Well, further understanding on this issue probably isn't going to make us any happier. Hold on. Let's finish this Reddit thread at least. However, Russians are bringing in a lot of bridge laying and engineering equipment to have the option to cross the river, but it will be a major challenge given how wide the Dnieper is in most places, and while under major fire from Ukraine artillery. Bridging and engineering equipment in the Jewish Autonomous Region from 4 days ago looks like a PP 2005 pontoon bridging company with 16 links, 4 BMK 250, towing boats, amphibious vehicles. So this is equipment for crossing the river then. If this is equipment for crossing the river, that might be an indication that they feel like they'll have to. Oh man, dude. This is the thing, guys. You posture with tanks and soldiers, right? You don't posture with bridge laying equipment. That's for something you just do. You don't posture with bridge laying equipment. There are other rivers it could also be for them. Yeah, in Ukraine. You absolutely posture with bridge laying equipment? I don't know. I feel like the tanks are enough. You posture with actionable threats, Vosh. I don't see a difference here. I feel like there's a pretty big difference. I feel like the difference is between like the threat is laying the gun on the table, and like the actionable difference is like watching a person like frantically loading rounds into a magazine. I don't know. It feels like there's a difference. One of them is like a common like element of posturing, and the other one is like the practical necessity of moving forward. It feels like there's a difference to me. I don't know. The Belarus front gives them an option to execute a flanking maneuver and surround Kiev without crossing the Dnieper, but I think they are unlikely to do so and risk a siege of Leningrad-style battle there. Such a maneuver will also leave them open to rear attacks from the west. By who? With such overwhelming ground, air, and naval force, assisted by on-the-ground operations by GRU and FSB, the Russians could neutralize all major organized resistance in the east within 60 days. Eastern Ukraine is exceptionally flat, and most of the significant forests are also in the west. This makes it very hard territory to defend, as well as relatively ill-suited for an insurgency movement, unlike, say, Chechnya or Afghanistan. That's true. Generally, it's jungles, forests, and mountain ranges that are really difficult to invade and control. One point to note here is that many past Ukrainian insurgencies, including the resistance to the Soviet rule in the 1930s and 50s, was based in the west, a much more mountainous and dense forestry region. The insurgent leaders will no doubt try to organize urban resistance in the cities, but given the remarkable capabilities of the Russian intelligence services and extremely brutal methods they employ, they'll be able to identify and eliminate key leaders in fairly quick order. So having established control of the East, how does this solve Putin's primary objectives? First, let's discuss what they might be. They are multiple. 1. Stop furthering NATO expansion to post-Soviet states. Yes, Putin and the rest of Russia's elites, going back to Gorbachev and Yeltsin, believe it is a threat, and no amount of Western pronouncements to the contrary will change that. Incidentally, the claims that NATO is a purely defensive alliance don't square well with the Kosovo and Libya operations, which the Russians remember well. The fact that they were done for humanitarian reasons provides no consolation to the current Russian leadership. Why do they say current Russian leadership when the Russian leadership has been the same guy for like 30 years? To Russian leadership. And for Putin, NATO expansion does not only mean membership. He is also very concerned about NATO's involvement on the ground in Ukraine and Georgia. Weapons sales, advisors and trainers, reconnaissance flights near Russian borders, he wants to put an end to it all. 2. Bring Ukraine back into Russia's sphere of influence. In addition to stopping all NATO involvement in the country, he wants to reverse the pro-Western orientation of its policies. That includes ending any prospects for eventual EU membership. Putin has enjoyed remarkable success over the last few years in re-establishing firm Russian presence in much of the post-Soviet space. Armenia, Belarus, and most recently Kazakhstan, have been brought firmly into Russian sphere and at very little cost. Ukraine invasion would nearly complete Putin's project of restoring Russia's power in its near abroad. Given the justifiable anti-Russian feelings among the majority of Ukrainians, he knows the only way to get influence over Ukrainian government and their policies is through a change to their constitution and system of government. More on this in a bit. This is, isn't it crazy how this is a Twitter thread, but it comes off so much more cohesive and well-informed than the Reddit post? Like, you're doing this 280 characters at a time, but it definitely comes off a lot more involved and, informed than... 3. Diplomatically centering Russia's ownership over Crimea. Realists realize Crimea is not returning back to Ukraine. No Russia leader is going to allow it, and Russia would go to war to keep it, and no one is going to be insane enough to fight them for it. In addition, the majority of the people in Crimea, except for the Tatar minority, Tatar? And even they are warming up to Russian annexation, want to remain in Russia. Russia has dumped tens of billions of dollars into Crimean infrastructure, remaking much of the peninsula and integrating it deeply with the rest of Russia, physically, economically, and politically. and economically, life has objectively become significantly better for the people there. Tartar? Tartar? Okay. Wait, no, it doesn't. It's still LARPy. It just aligns with the way Vosh thinks that it's going down. Wait, how is this LARPy? This feels like an incredibly straightforward description of the events taking place. It's not narrativization. There doesn't feel like any weird, like, this doesn't come off as LARPy to me at all. I mean, I admit I don't know. This person says Chairman, Silverado Policy Accelerator, founder, blah blah blah, CrowdStrike, cybersecurity, NatSec, geopolitics. So yeah, I don't know, but like, I don't know. The writing begets more trust from my perspective. Russia has dumped tens of billions of dollars into Crimean infrastructure, remaking much of the peninsula and integrating it deeply with the rest of Russia, physically, economically, and politically. And economically, life is better there. There's no situation in which Crimea will rejoin Ukraine. Wait, what is this? Vosh, with all due respect, in your analysis of the political dimension of this aside, do any of us have the necessary knowledge of military tactics, armaments, or history to judge the military specifics here? Oh, no, not really. We can get gists of it, though. If you're decently well educated, you can figure out, based on prior information, a good amount on what will take place. But my main concern here is nuclear war. I think that Russia will inevitably collapse. I don't think its leadership is capable of navigating it through like the modern geopolitical space for very long. The nuclear war thing is the thing that I'm most interested in. In fact, does this even address? This goes on for a very, very, very long time, but does this even address? It doesn't even talk about nukes. Nothing here mentions nuclear weapons. Control F. I just read. Also, Twitter here does weird things when I hit keys on it. Nope. How will this affect the Elden Ring release? Hopefully not at all. They'd nuke us, not Ukraine? Yeah, of course. What is this? Is this a good meme?
Look, Pim, I know it's our job to help this guy and everything, but I think this guy's a lost cause. He's obviously made up his mind. Why don't we just cut our losses and get out of here? Look, Pim.
Yeesh. All right, never mind. New meme. Editors, this is a separate segment, okay? And put this part at the beginning. All right? We're reverse time, space time. Goodbye to people at the end of the video. Hello to people at the beginning. We're here now at the beginning. Okay? We're just sort of ramblingly investigated, and by investigated I mean read Twitter threads. Look, okay. It seems like we might have war. Russia has been posturing invasion of Ukraine for some time now, for a wide variety of reasons that will be explored in my past, your future. But the gist of it is this. Just a few hours ago, Biden's administration ordered the diplomats' families out of Ukraine. Pulling people from embassies is like one of the most obvious, evident, clear, and historically omnipresent indicators of future warfare. there are a couple of directions that things can go with this one. So let me just let I'm going to talk about most of this in the main thing, but I'm just going to give you guys the bullet points in case you're like really, 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 really short on attention. Okay? A few days ago, Russian officials made thinly veiled allusions to nuclear strikes. Not expecting much progress. Diplomatic marathon. Mr. Putin wants to extend Russia's sphere of influence to Eastern Europe. Written commitments that NATO will never again enlarge. There were hints, never quite spelled out, that nuclear weapons could be shifted to places, perhaps not far from the U.S. coastline, that would reduce warning times after a launch to as little as 5 minutes, potentially igniting a confrontation with echoes of the 1962 Cuban Missile Strike. Phenomenal. Okay, listen, here's the point, okay? Make peace with your gods and say hi to your neighbors, all right? It's a good time to be at peace. In all seriousness, nuclear war probably isn't that likely because it would be very bad for a lot of businesses. It would make the line go down very, very far, very quickly. There probably wouldn't even be a line, honestly. However, a Russian invasion of Ukraine seems very likely at this point, which isn't great. In terms of what we can do, apart from making peace with your gods, I will say this, okay? We're going to be subjected to a lot of disinformation from advocates for and state agents from Russia pertaining to this, that any invasion of Ukraine will be kicked off with some false flag attack against Russia. You know, Russia will go like, oh, well, we weren't gonna, but then in this weird, difficult to explain attack on our forces that Ukraine wouldn't have any reason to do, now we have to. It's like this happens every time, you know. There's going to be a lot of disinformation. There are going to be a lot of people treating Ukraine as the aggressor because of their, you know, petitioning NATO. There are going to be people treating the United States or NATO as the aggressor. Listen, in this case, no matter what happens, whether we all die in nuclear hellfire or not, one thing remains incontrovertibly true, okay? And it is this. Russia is the aggressor, all right? If Russia is willing to posture this close to World War III in order to satisfy its geopolitical interests, then there should be no Russia. There is essentially nothing you can do that is worse than global nuclear annihilation. That might be the worst thing. It's difficult to imagine anything peaking out at that. That might actually be the baddest thing that there can be. Anything done to prevent that, anything, is preferable to that. It is the greatest argument from lesser evils imaginable, really. So just keep that in mind when you're arguing with people, or I guess when you're in hell, thinking, you know, mulling it over. It doesn't get much worse than global nuclear annihilation. That's pretty much as bad as it gets. I don't really know what to say. I mean, usually the reason I talk about political stuff is because when people listen to me, and many people listen to me, you know, hundreds of thousands, if I'm going by my analytics, millions every month sometimes, you know, I feel like some of them get moved over to positions that I feel are good, and that gives them arguments to use against people who have bad opinions. It allows them to shift their, you know, their daily behavior, to vote differently, to promote good causes, to argue in favor of this, to argue in favor of that, right? The issue is nothing any of us believes means anything here, because there's no element of U.S. state policy or of NATO doctrine that's responsible for this. Ukraine wants NATO to help them because Russia keeps menacing Ukraine and is now about to invade Ukraine. Nothing here is on us. This is a Russia thing. And I can't, the closest thing I could do is give you advice on how to survive nuclear winter, which I'm going to be honest with you, I don't have because I've never looked into it, all right? This may seem exceptionally doomer, but, you know, if you guys hear air warning sirens, better that you know why, I guess, you know, than thinking that it's your phone alarm that's going off and you just left your phone somewhere and you can't find it. And there's a bright white flash outside and you die like 6 seconds after realizing it wasn't the phone. You know? I mean, I'd rather you be texting people that you saying you care about them, okay? I don't know. Look, we do what we can. Yeah, then it'll be like Fallout. Keep in mind the Fallout universe is like 200 years after the end of the world, so we don't get to survive that. Look, just yeah. Does that make a meaningful difference? I don't know about you, but I'd like to like text my mom or like call her. You know? I think that'd be nice. Beforehand. What is the yield of an average nuclear bomb these days, huh? Somebody linked 6 megatons. No, wait, that's the maximum yield to mass ratio. No. Average yield would be how much energy to 1 kiloton. What yield was the Hiroshima nuke? 16 kilotons. What? Let's just go 100 kilotons. I don't know. It's just 100 kilotons. And then if oh, you can select a preset here. I see. Let's see. Currently in US are 150. Okay, sure. There you go. All right. I'm looking at it, and my prescription is that it would be really bad. That's my feeling on the matter. Yeah, I'm investigating. I'm investigating the situation. Care to share? Nah. Feel like we've been doomer enough. Look. What? If only there were any consequences. Thankfully, nobody cares about Caleb Maupin anyway, but yeah, keep this in the beginning. Hold on. What does he have to say? Caleb, if there's no war, that's what I want to hear. I don't want war.
Folks, the U.S. Secretary of State and the Russian Foreign Minister just had a meeting trying to resolve some of this tension. And just a few hours later, we hear that the USA is sending military helicopters to Ukraine. You got Estonia, Lithuania, Latvia, they're sending anti-tank missiles. Everyone is pouring all kinds of weapons into Ukraine. This is insanity.
Well, thankfully, Ukraine is our ally, and if they ask for weapons, that's their right. And also, they're not invading Russia, so, so that's fine. If there's no conflict, there's no problem, right?
This is just complete and utter insanity. Russia is not going to invade Ukraine. Russia is not going to invade Ukraine. Russia is not going to invade Ukraine. You know how many times they have to say this? They don't want a war. They don't want to invade Ukraine. This is insane. This is...
Oh, when he says they don't want to, what he means is that when Russia orchestrates its false flag attack to justify invading Ukraine, calling it defensive retaliation, he'll go like, oh, well, Ukraine forced them,
Nuts! I have never seen anything like this. This government in Ukraine that they are giving lethal weapons to is full of neo-Nazis.
Lethal weapons? When you're trying to make it sound like really, really scary. Look at this phenomenal brain. Russia is escalating this by supposedly assembling Russian troops in Russia? While the USA is sending all kinds of weapons and tanks right to their border in Ukraine. Wait, look at this. In the same tweet, he's literally like, massing troops at the border of another country is an escalation. However, putting troops on your border next to Russia is. These are literally the same. Yeah. Again, he's paid by the Russian government. It doesn't matter. Do you if you make your money from RT, do you ever think they're going to be like, oh wait, hold on, my ethics conflict with this? Like, no. That went away a while ago.
They tear down World War II memorials. Okay, they've got an actual Nazi battalion, the Azov battalion. It's a section of the army that's like Nazi. They just had a parade for Stepan Bandera, who is a Nazi collaborator. This is.
I haven't looked into that much stuff. I'm going to assume that most of this stuff is either untrue, exaggerated, or misrepresented. But it doesn't matter because none of that changes the fact that Russia shouldn't invade.
It's insanity. You don't stop war. You don't bring peace by pouring weapons into countries. This insane rhetoric.
The Azov battalion's neo-Nazi. Yeah, but the Azov's battalion. I've heard that wasn't it like emergent or like a desperation thing on the Eastern Front or something? Or are they even controlled directly by the Ukrainian government, or were they just like I don't know. There's some thing here. There's something about this, some nuance that's being left. Or like they were left, like a paramilitary thing. Again, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Russia's going to invade, or at least Russia's posturing invasion. It doesn't matter.
Has got to stop. This is going to lead to a disaster. Nobody is benefiting from this. We are edging closer and closer and closer to World War III. This is a complete and utter nightmare.
Okay, yeah, that's exact. So he's doing the thing. When the conflict emerges, Russia will do the false flag, and he'll be like, "Well, this is because the U.S. and the Ukraine work together. This is their shot to take down Russia and engage in Western imperialism. So now Russia's reasonable and
it's got to stop. I mean, no one has any idea how dangerous this is. This is not a joke. This is really extreme. A lot of people are going to get hurt, and a lot of people are going to die if this doesn't stop. Okay? This has got to stop. This has to stop. It must stop. You have no idea how dangerous this is. This is a nightmare.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Thank you. All right, editors, do the time thing now. Put this at the beginning of the part where we stop going over the Haas Dylan Burns thing and the Taiwan thing, and we talk about the Ukraine thing. Okay, put this in the... Okay, go. Switch it around. Now, I'm going to keep it real with you guys. I've doomed myself into not wanting to stream. I don't want to stream. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's just kind of upsetting. Go start working on your bunker. Yeah. When the world ends, you'll wish you had spent more time with us. Yeah. Play Furi to cheer up. Jazz, it'll have to wait. No content, no. Tempest, put the Ukraine thing on the main channel. Easy title, okay? Russia, Ukraine war seems imminent. World War III beckons. Easy. All caps. Let's go. Hyperbolic thumbnail. Let's go. Okay, buddy, Vosh segments are perfect for making you less doomer. Yeah, okay. You people are no help. All right. All right, listen up. That's enough. We'll get to the rest. We'll get to all of yous. Close that, close this. Tucker Carlson, we'll do it tomorrow. This, we'll do it tomorrow. We'll do everything tomorrow. Nothing. All right, listen up. I love you all very much. One of the big selling points of my content is the authenticity, okay? An unfortunate downside to that is that if I'm in a bad mood, I just don't stream. So that's the up and down. Authenticity means that you get very direct, cool when you're into it, but if you're not, that's just how it is. Listen, I'll stream tomorrow night. Upsetting stuff here. Besides, by tomorrow, the war could have started. Who knows, right? It's kind of hard to know right now, right? If the war starts, I promise I'll stream. For the war. So that's good. Yes, the war stream. Listen, not only will I listen, this is my pledge. Not only will I stream the war, I will live stream the war. That's right, folks. I'm catching a plane. We're going to be right there in Kiev. Okay? We're going to be right there. We're going to be there in a hard hat, live streaming. Let's go. In the front lines. Yeah, wear safety glasses, of course. Will you take your cats there? No, they're dumb. It's dangerous out there. All right, listen. I love you guys very much. Okay, you guys need to calm down, all right? Please keep in mind that for like 40 years during the Cold War, 30, I guess, during the Cold War, this tension you're feeling right now was like omnipresent. Okay? I'm serious, okay? My parents lived through it, right? This was like an everyday thing. Like all the time. That's why they're all so traumatized and they never went to therapy. Okay? So, you know, imagine growing up day after day, you know, not just knowing that at any point the Cold War could escalate to nuclear tension, but that being all you got in the news. And everyone talked about it all the time. All the time. You talked about it in your classrooms. You talked about it in the workplaces. It's all the news would talk about constantly, every day. Escalating warfare, tension, this, that, the other. For decades. And they didn't even have video games back then. But they had good housing prices, so it's a give and take. It is a give and take. They did have that. Yeah, they didn't have anime either. They had proto-anime. They had Astro Boy. Yes, we did Pac-Man. I'm thinking more in like the 60s to like early 80s period. Listen. We had them in the late 70s when the Atari 2600 came out. Wait, the Atari 2600 came out in the late 70s? Wait, I thought it was like 85. Am I just totally off on this? Yes? Oh my god. 1977? Okay, yeah, no, I didn't know that. I thought... Huh. 85 was the NES? Yeah, I guess that... Yeah, okay. Yeah. Man, that's wild. Anyway, the point that I'm getting at is for those of you who feel crippling anxiety right now, okay? I don't know what your strategies are for dealing with the anxiety itself, but keep in mind that generations of people had to go through that and make their way through it. You know, so just try to keep that in mind, okay? If you were to act on that anxiety and do something reckless or rash, you know, think of all the fools out there who like sold everything right before the Y2K bug, right? You know, or right before the turn of the millennium. All the people out there, you know, during the Cold War, like freaked out. Like things persist. And you know, if the nukes fall and somehow I'm not hit, you know what the stream's going to be about? Well, there would be no internet probably, so I don't know if I could really stream to you guys. But look, we'll talk about post-nuclear apocalypse survival tactics, all right? We're going to talk about, you know, grilling your sewer rats. We're going to talk about, you know, how to make a good leather jerkin. I don't know. A jerkin's like those vest things, right? Okay. I'm going to send you I'm going to send you guys over to Canoe. You guys oh god, I just inhaled wrong. You have to give Canoe a message, okay? You have to give Canoe a message. Because I was going to have Canoe on later during this stream to talk about a thing, but I'll just do it tomorrow. So you have to tell Canoe, Vosh apologizes, but he had to... No, wait, that sounds like way too dramatic. I'll just text them. I literally live with them. Why would I... Okay, just go watch Canoe. Jesus, I'm lazy. God.